confirm your attendance at massdems.org/DSC meeting. If after 30 minutes you do not see your name at the attendance, please contact your PMA. Please, you only need to check in once. When we discuss a motion, I'll ask you to raise your hand. The Zoom function has a little function there to raise your hand. After the hands are raised, I'll ask each person if they plan to speak for or against the motion. We'll do our best to alternate the speakers for or against to ensure discussions are balanced and we use our time efficiently. To raise your hand, depending on the version of Zoom, you most likely click on the participants tab. I'm just seeing if that's still the case, or in mine, it's reactions, but that might be because I'm a host. And you'll see a little button that says raise your hand. If the result of a vote can't be determined by Zoom vote, by voice vote, or on occasion we've done the Zoom polling function, if it really sounds like it's one-sided, we will go to ballots and we will send out the ballot via email and chat. If you're voting via email and have not received your ballot within 5 minutes, please contact your PMA. You need to have your member ID and PIN to check in. So please, if you don't remember what that is, you can contact your PMA and get your member ID and PIN. Again, please only do the check-in form once. We get many duplicates and it saves us time as we continue to go through. Finally, I'd also like to remind you that this is a business meeting. We're streaming live on YouTube. Please be polite and respectful of your colleagues, volunteers, and staff that make these meetings possible. All right, if you haven't already checked in to this meeting, please either go to your email, or we'll put it in the chat again to go to check in. In your email, the subject line is open now, DSC 420 check-in. In 30 minutes, you'll be able to confirm that you've been checked in by looking at the website open now /DSC 420 check-in. All right. It is now 7:02 and I call the April 20th meeting of the Massachusetts Democratic State Committee to order. I would now like to recognize very special person, State Representative Maria Robinson, to say the Pledge of Allegiance. And Maria, let us get you highlighted first. And when that happens, there you are. Okay, great, you're up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you, Maria. Much appreciated. Since we are checking since we are checking in via Google form, we will dispense with a roll call. At this time, I'd like to take a moment of silence. Please join me as we remember family members and friends of our state committee members. Averin Goldberg, father of state committee member, treasurer Deb Goldberg, and vice chair emeritus Ray Jordan. Our thoughts are with their families and them and their families at this difficult time. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Prior to today's meeting, you were sent the agenda via an email. It's also on the screen right now, and I will share it. Or Veronica, does someone have the ability to share it? Here we go. Okay, you were sent the agenda via email. It's also on the screen now. During the meeting, we will hold elections to fill our 4 add-on seats to the state committee. We will vote add-on delegates to state convention. We will learn more about our diversity, equity, and inclusion program that has begun. Hear from many subcommittees, and when given the opportunity, hear from candidates to our state convention. Do I hear with a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
So moved and seconded.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, any opposed?
Aye.
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 Okay, the agenda is approved. We'll now move on to the minutes. Prior to the meeting, you all received the copies of the November minutes. Please make sure the attendance has been recorded correctly. I've received a typo, which we will fix. If there are any other corrections, you're more than welcome to email Nigel or I, and we'll take them up at the next meeting.
Move to accept the minutes as amended, Mr. Chairman.
Motion's made and second. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Favor of the minutes, say aye.
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 All right,
Aye.
opposed, the minutes are accepted.
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to the chair's report. And, you know, a strong welcome. Very excited to see you all here. I hope you're all doing well. We've got a packed agenda. And so with only 44 days before we kick off the convention, I can think of no better way to start the meeting than to hear from our candidates running for governor.
Hello, Democratic State Committee members. Thanks for having me. And thank you for all of your hard work in this banner election year for Massachusetts. From caucuses to convention to building our organizing muscle for the long term. Your dedication has carried us through another trying and complicated year and has made our party stronger for it. As many of you know, I'm Sonia Chang Diaz. I'm a mom, a former public school teacher, and Massachusetts' first Latina and Asian American state senator. And I'm running for governor because every day it's getting harder for families to live here in Massachusetts. Over the past 13 years, I have fought like hell to address the biggest challenges that we face as a state. And in that time, I've seen firsthand that we've still got too many people in government who are more concerned with holding on to power rather than doing something with it. But it doesn't have to be this way. In this election, we can choose to deliver debt-free quality education to every kid from birth into adulthood, to pass a Green New Deal, to solve our housing crisis and close the racial wealth divide. All we need is to stand together, see each other's fights as our own, and elect a governor who won't just say the right words, but who'll take on our toughest fights, even when it's not politically convenient. I didn't get into this race because I thought it was going to be easy or because I saw a good career opportunity. I got into it because I've stood on the front lines with all of you and families across this state for my whole life. And I know the urgency of this moment we're living in and the future that we can build together. That's why I'm asking for your support at convention and for you to join our team at soniachangdiaz.com. Thank you all, and I'll see you on the campaign trail.
Hi, it's Maura Healy, and I want to take a moment to thank Gus, Mass Dems, and the executive board for the incredible work that you've been doing for our party and for our state. Let's talk about what an amazing caucus season we just had. You all did tremendous work navigating the hybrid model, supporting our town committees, and encouraging people to get out and get involved in our democracy. Your hard work has set us on a path for what I know will be a really successful convention and an even more successful election cycle, because with your support, we're going to be electing Democrats up and down the ballot, including putting a Democrat back in the governor's office. Together, we can move Massachusetts forward, and we can build an economy where all families can thrive. We can tackle the high cost of living, address the climate crisis, increase affordable housing, expand access to childcare and mental health services, and so much more. I know you've got a packed agenda with the exciting work of selecting add-on delegates. My team and I worked really hard to reach out to voters to encourage them to get involved in the process. I can't wait to meet the incredible diverse slate of delegates who will be the future of our party and our state. We're just 6 weeks away from the convention. I can't wait to see everybody in Worcester, to be together, to celebrate our achievements, and to get energized for the important work ahead. Thank you all for everything that you do and everything that you give to our party. I can't wait to see you.
Okay, we're still running a little bit ahead, so I'm going to, I invited all the candidates to give us videos, so we are going to do the Lieutenant Governor's office right now, but then we'll get back to the agenda, get through it, and then find time. And we are going to hear from all the offices that we get. So here we go. We'll go with the 5 lieutenant gubernatorial candidates.
Hello, Democratic State Committee members. My name is Brett Biro, and I'm running for Lieutenant Governor. And I'm running for a reason. Massachusetts is at an inflection point, and the decisions we make in the next administration will define the character of the Commonwealth for our next generation. My background is distinctly different from the other candidates. I'm on the faculty of Babson College, so I understand the importance of education and the challenges we face coming out of COVID. I was a small business owner for over 20 years out in Orange, and I know how critically important small businesses are to our forgotten towns and gateway cities for their economic well-being and economic justice. I served on the board of the largest environmental testing company in North America, and so I know that climate change is both an existential threat as well as an opportunity for Massachusetts to be a leader in the alternative energy industry. I served in local town government, so I also understand that most citizens receive their governmental services from their local towns and municipalities. I see a coming storm. Inflation is increasing, interest rates are slowly rising, and we confront the probability of a recession in 2023. COVID has become endemic to our lives. I believe that the Lieutenant Governor's skills and experience should complement rather than duplicate those of the Governor. My name is Brett Biro. I'm running for Lieutenant Governor, and I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Hi folks, my name is Kim Driscoll. I have served as Mayor of Salem for the last 16 years, and I'm running to be your next Lieutenant Governor. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share more about myself and my enthusiasm for this race. But first and foremost, I want to thank you for your service and your civic commitment to ensure our Commonwealth lives up to its values and potential. I appreciate the time and attention you're putting into the primary process, and I look forward to seeing you at the convention in June. I've been a leader in local government for more than 2 decades, working to solve the problems facing hardworking people every single day. Early in my career, I worked in Chelsea as the city was coming out of receivership, first as their chief legal counsel and later as deputy city manager. Those years taught me the value of good government and who pays the price for failures in leadership. Seeing a need for action in my hometown of Salem, I ran for mayor in 2005 and have taken on some of our city's toughest challenges. Mayors like me have been on the ground in front of our most urgent fights, from COVID response and recovery to racial equity, the climate crisis, strengthening our public schools, and making housing more affordable. We can't be a strong and healthy Commonwealth without thriving and successful cities and towns. It's a symbiotic relationship and one that I know and understand. At this moment in time, so much is at stake. We can't go back to what we did before COVID, and we need leaders who can not only talk about our challenges, but who have experience doing the work that we rely on. Keeping our neighborhoods safe, our kids educated, and our housing and infrastructure funded and supported. I'm proud to be part of the Get Stuff Done wing of government. I'm proud of my record of transparent, innovative executive leadership. I'll bring that same skill set and sense of urgency to Beacon Hill as your next Lieutenant Governor to empower all our cities and towns and unlock our Commonwealth's full potential. Let's make history this fall and put 2 women in the corner office. I'd be honored to have you with me in this race and humbly ask for your vote at the convention and in September.
To our Democratic State Committee members, I just want to say it has been an honor and a privilege to get to know you over the last 10 months, whether we met at a caucus last year or this year or a Democratic event. I want to thank you for the work that you do every single day to strengthen our party. I also want to give a big thanks to Gus and party staff for giving us a few minutes to speak with you today. I am State Representative Tammy Govea. I am a mom, a social worker, a policymaker, an organizer, and a doctor of public health. I got in this race in June of 2021 because of the current administration's mishandling of so many issues, whether you're talking about COVID-19 or transportation issues, or you're talking about the housing or the climate crises. If you want a lieutenant governor who will bring diverse people and diverse perspectives together to solve our state's most complex problems, then I am the candidate for you. If you want a lieutenant governor who will prioritize economic and racial justice in our response to the climate crisis, then I am the candidate for you. If you want a lieutenant governor who will prioritize the health and well-being of every single resident in our state, then I am the candidate for you. And if you want a doctor of public health who will put the health, well-being, and dignity of every single resident at the heart of decision-making, then I am the candidate for you. I am Tammy Govea. I humbly ask for your vote and for your support. To learn more about us and our campaign, go to tammygovea.com. TAMIGOUVEIA. I have all the vowels in my last name, so if you are missing the U, you're probably spelling it wrong. Look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail, and thank you again. Be well and stay safe.
Hello, fellow state committee members, State Senator Adam Hines, running for Lieutenant Governor. And I'm running because if you're like me, you've noticed that this is not a moment for more of the same. Not another politician to continue the status quo. The moment is too big, the challenges are too significant, and yet the opportunity is clear as well. I want to use the office of Lieutenant Governor to truly live up to this moment. And that means when we have larger groups of people finally asking how our budget and policy choices have resulted in Massachusetts being one of the most unequal and most expensive places to live, and at the same time, at a moment when we are literally putting billions of dollars aside for the next administration, we had better move with the determination and the understanding that Massachusetts will only truly prosper when everyone has the opportunity to thrive. I've spent my career taking on the big issues, bringing people together for progress. I spent nearly 10 years in the Middle East, working for the United Nations, involved in conflict negotiations in Iraq, Jerusalem, and Syria. And then I came home to take on the big challenges here, including leading 2 nonprofits, one focused on youth violence and the other taking on our fight against substance use disorder. When I joined the Senate, I have led the way on big issues, including as recently as last week, when my bill to accelerate the transition to the day when only electric vehicles are on our Massachusetts road was a part of the climate bill we adopted in the Senate. And that is absolutely critical when transportation still accounts for 40% of our emissions as a state. This landmark bill also included my amendment to expand battery storage, which is so critical for our green energy revolution. So, as a fellow state committee member, I wish you all luck tonight. I look forward to talking with you before the convention and earning your support at the convention as we work to define the future of the Commonwealth and the party together.
Hi, everybody. It's State Senator Eric Lester here, and I just want to thank the members of the State Committee for meeting and for your commitment to our party, to our Commonwealth, and to our common democratic and progressive future. And I think it goes without saying that this is not an ordinary time, which is what makes your activism, your work, your commitment, even in between elections, so important on a federal level, on a state level, and in our own communities. And so I just want to say thank you to the members of the State Committee for the work you're doing to keep our state, to keep our party, to keep our future as Democrats strong. I just want to also quickly introduce myself if you don't already know me. Again, I said my name is Eric Lesser. I'm a state senator from Longmeadow. I represent the greater Springfield area in the state Senate, and I'm running for lieutenant governor. And I think I've got the experience and the commitment to be the right partner for our next Democratic governor, because at the end of the day, that's the job of the lieutenant governor, to be an effective partner and implementer of the governor's agenda, and to help make sure our common democratic future and our common democratic agenda is a success. We've got to get high-speed rail done, connecting Pittsfield, Springfield, Worcester, and Boston. We've got to bring the cost of housing down for our families. We've got to continue to commit ourselves to racial justice and to fighting the climate crisis. I think I've got the skills and track record to be an effective partner to our next governor on those points. So enjoy the meeting. Good luck getting through everything. Thank you for your work and commitment. And I look forward to getting to know each of you as the campaign progresses and in the years ahead. Thanks so much.
Okay, we will, we're going to get right back to the agenda right now. I promise you, we've got the other 3 offices, but we need to catch up. And so if we don't catch up, we'll do them right before new business. But it was great to have that. So that was much better than your chair's report. Okay, we're going to the treasurer's report. And unfortunately, our treasurer, who is fabulous, Kathy Gasparin, had a business obligation come up right before this meeting. So she's not able to be here. So I will give the treasurer's report. We are in a good place. We are currently, we're sharing with you the percentages as to where we are in the cycle. We have paid our 3 initial payments to the state convention, and we will get to the expenses, but we brought in 170 so far. So we're in a good place. And we are going to definitely need to get to the 200, as you'll see as we get further down. A non-event revenue, this is the revenue that comes in pretty much on an automatic basis in years from traditional sources, and we're at 28, and that should end up at 500 by the end of the year. The Governor's Circle, we have an event a week from today, a week from tomorrow, so that will pick up again. And when we reach that 300,000, that should get us to the $1 million that we want to set aside for whoever wins the nominee. We have not had any fundraising events. We have 2 on the books for this summer and this fall. The China Pearl is coming back. We're going to have it in September, and the mayor has been wonderful and is going to be one of the co-hosts again. So I'm sure that will be a successful event soon after the primary. So look forward to having that. And so I believe that we're going to make that 35. The digital is what we do through our emails, and 28% at this point is a good place to be. Roosevelt dinner, we just started, but we have a great event planned for June 1st. So look forward to that being a success. Coordinated campaign, again, that's an estimate, and that is, something that we won't know until we find out, who we have that's competitive, who's bringing money, who's not. But that allows us to be in a good place. So we'll go to expenses. Recurring office, that's our rent, utilities, technology. That also includes our DEI consultant, and 21%. I think we'll be at, I don't think we're gonna go over that for the year. And some of that is because we are still a little bit stricken by COVID, not doing as much in and around and out and other things. So some of our expenses aren't being used as much. An example, just so you understand why I'm saying, like, we get water at the office. The last 2 water deliveries, I've just canceled them because we are going in a hybrid way. And so instead of having 5-6 staffers, and we only have 1 or 2 a day. So different expenses like that are just not going to be what the level is. Personnel, that is lower than it normally would be, but we have transition. So we are finally, getting back up to staff. We've got new communications director, Stephanie Benzadouin, and our new voter file and technology manager, Ryan Kangas. They're both on staff now. And so that will continue to move forward, looking to probably bring on a coordinated campaign director in June. And that's the direction we're going in that area. And we are still on the looking for a blueprint organizer. State convention. As soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to recognize, I believe, Martina Jackson, who is going to make a motion. We'd like to increase the approved expense for the conventions to 270. And as you'll remember, we were significantly under expenses for our 2021 convention because we were working on some of the expenses, working with the facility, and we finally did pay them in January. But we do have to report to OSPF and FEC, so that's always going to be on our books for January, even though in our treasurer's report, it was a 2021 expense. So to make it so that our convention looks like it's costing us $200,000 for 2022, and then we just know that the 70,190 was for the 2021 convention. I'll come back to that at the end, but that is a motion, so we can just change to the expense number from 200,000 to 271. Fundraising costs, that'll be on Mark. Coordinated campaign, that again depends on what we have. Meetings, we're have 2 more meetings a year. Some of that, this expense is, we did include the DNC travel and DNC technology training that we are sending some staff to. Miscellaneous, I don't know if we'll get up to the 225. So that is treasury report. I'll leave it up. I see a hand from Nicole.
I guess, yeah, I just wanted to take a moment since you gave an opening. I noticed the staff turnover, so I just really wanted to thank the staff that has been doing so well, being shorthanded, all the extra work they've been doing in, and I wanted to, welcome our new people and say, good luck, because it's the lion's den sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and I too want to thank the staff. The team has been tremendous. The team that left is missed, but for a short while, Joe, Nigel, and I, it was pretty impressive. And this new crew is coming on, and it's a great crew. I'm going to go to Terry, then I'm going to go to Martina.
Okay, thank you so much. So I just had a question about the coordinated campaign. So with that campaign, is it just for Massachusetts, or is it for like making sure, like in case Maggie Hassan needs help in New Hampshire or any other New Hampshire candidate, we could send people out there, or to like other New England states?
Yes, so we have, and we did actually, we were very active at the end of 220. We hired a full-time staffer to help out the 2 races in Georgia. In other words, that came out of the coordinated campaign expenses. So a lot of times we call them OOS, out of state organizer. So yeah, that would be a coordinated campaign expense.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. And just as a follow-up, how much would the OOS be like as a portion of the coordinated campaign budget?
Unclear, and these are things that I'll have a better idea, because it all depends on the amount of, it was more in 2020 than maybe in prior years, because as people will remember, basically a carrot that we said to a lot of our volunteers, which is, we know the presidential election isn't huge here in Massachusetts, so go spend 2 or 3 weekends in another state, New Hampshire, some other place, but give us 2. And so our staff was significantly organizing around that, which made a huge difference, because we had some big victories in 2020 here in Massachusetts, as well as in other states. It all if it right now it looks as it all depends where we'll be in September. We don't know yet. We don't know which races will be competitive, but we will continue to do as much as we can to our neighbor to the north and other states, because quite clearly we want to keep the majorities in the House and the Senate. But we also need to make sure we continue. We've had a great track record here, and we need to make sure that we hold all of our constitutional offices, all of our congressional offices, that we continue to have the record we've had with the state Senate and state reps. And we've got some really strong county races and some ones that we're going to flip. We are targeting right now that we need to flip. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gus.
All right, Martina Jackson.
I'm, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we add $271,000 to the budget for the current budget.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any discussion?
Add to the budget or modify?
It just modifies that line item to 270. Yeah.
Right.
All those in favor?
Before we do that, Tina had her hand up. Tina had her hand up.
Tina, was that on a different? Was that on that or was that on a different thing, Tina?
No, it was on this. I thought you were going to call for discussion, so I waited.
Oh, I did. I thought I said it. Any discussion? Go ahead, discussion.
Okay, I'm sorry. The vote was already taken, so it's rather moot. But normally when you have a, a budget item like this where you know you're going to go over, you just carry the variance and you explain the variance. You don't amend the budget. You just carry the variance.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering why you would want to amend the budget and not just carry the variance, since we know why we have the variance.
Basically, because it answers the asterisks in the right-hand side because we're going to, your point, I think it's, frankly, apples to apples. It's just going to be easier in the September, November meeting when our convention costs us 270. We're just going to remind people 70 that we spent in January was for 2021.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the treasurer's report with the amended budget.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, treasurer's report is accepted. We are going to now look to see, we're about to get to elections. Is there a secretary's report? I don't believe so. And any officers' reports? So now we're going to, I'm not seeing any hands. Okay, so now we get to elections. Okay. We, at our convention last fall, we added wording to our charter that added 4 seats to the state committee, 2 of whom shall be non-binary individuals, 2 of whom shall be queer individuals. Okay, treasurer's report. We need to mute or something, so. Okay, so So we have added these 4 new seats. We announced this at our January meeting. And we asked individuals to submit a letter of intent declaring their candidacy to fill these seats. It is a seat, though, that any individual may also be nominated by the body from the floor without submitting a letter. The following individuals have submitted their letter of intent. For the queer seat, Harper McMurray, who was nominated by DSC member Dan Kelly and seconded by DSC member Elaine Alquist. Samantha Kelly, who was nominated by DSC member Sam Hockenberry and seconded by DSC member Stacy Monahan. For the non-binary seat, Andrew Carter, who was nominated by DSC member Jonathan Cohn and seconded by DSC member Brian Barash. Andrew also sent his intent for the queer seat also. And Haley Kelly, who is nominated by DSC member Jeremy Camo and seconded by DSC member Mark Cody. We have received 4 letters of intent for 4 seats. Are there any other nominations from the floor?
Move that nominations be closed, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
The motion has been made and closed to have the nominations closed. All those in favor say aye.
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 Move the
Any
secretary.
opposed? Okay.
Aye.
Excellent. Okay. So the nominations.
Chairman, I would move that one vote be cast for all four candidates.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? I did want to make sure, because I always get this asked. We are gonna, the new members, whether they were new members or not, we're gonna give them a chance to speak because people asked that. So there's been a motion made for one vote to be cast and seconded. All those in favor of one motion, one vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
So the nomination,
I would move that one vote.
we're gonna mute everybody. Okay. There is feedback that's coming through. Okay, so now we will invite our new members to give brief introduction to the membership. So we will start, and congratulations to them. We'll start with Harper McMurray.
Hi, my name is Harper McMurray. I talked to a lot of you guys on the phone. This past April, I made about 200 calls. I just wanted to take this time really quick though to kind of answer the one question for everybody who I didn't get to talk to that was definitely the most asked question that I was asked, which was, why are you running? This is one of the things that I sent out in one of my initial emails is I'm trans. So this is something that's very personal to me. See, this is kind of hard for me to talk about, but it's very personal watching this recent attack on LGBTQ rights across the country, and to sit there and not do anything, I would not feel okay in doing, to put it bluntly. So I'm doing this because it's something where I know I can make a difference, and I know I'm not gonna like change the landscape of politics or anything, but you know, like I said, it's something that I can do, and not doing anything I would just feel bad. I would not be able to do that. So I really, you know, I did this because I wanted to really take part in pushing back against this narrative that's sprung up these past few years against all kinds of people in the LGBTQ community, and just wanted to have a state and a political environment that is welcoming to everybody in that community.
That's
Thanks.
terrific. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that, and congratulations. We'll now go to Samantha Kelly.
Hey everybody, I'm over here. It's very hard to follow that up. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank Sam and Stacy for their nomination and the second and all of their help. I think Harper brought up a good point. It's really, really hard for folks in the LGBTQIA+ community right now. And I want to thank all of you on the state committee for creating these seats and allowing more of these voices to be heard within our party. I think it's incredible. A quick introduction on who I am. I know you all have a packed schedule tonight. My name is Sam Kelly. I know a few of you, and I've gotten the pleasure to get to know more of you throughout this process. So I look forward to being introduced to you all, hopefully in person at the convention. But I graduated from Emerson College in 2019. I've been working on Democratic campaigns ever since, and that's kind of bled into my day job now at the Blue Lab electing Democrats, specifically down ballot in Massachusetts, and kind of cultivating our next generation of Democratic operatives. And I will thank you so much for for letting me be a part of tonight. And I'm happy to be a part of this wonderful committee, and I look forward to the work that we can continue to do. So thank you so much. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, and terrific. Thank you very much. I now welcome Andrew Carter.
Hi, all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee members. I will keep it very brief. A little bit about me. I am a lawyer working in cannabis policy right now, and I am so grateful for all of your support. As we know, representation matters, and that is particularly true in the LGBTQ plus community. So thank you for creating these seats and allowing us to have our voices at the table.
Great, thank you, Andrew. And Haley Kelly, congratulations.
Thank you. So I could spend my 2 minutes here talking about my political work and my history of service to the party. As vice chair of my Young Dems chapter, how I am restarting and chair YDMA's LGBTQ caucus, and how I restart and chair my local Democratic ward committee. All that information is in the statement that was sent out to you. So instead, I would like to tell a much more personal story about why I got involved in the party in the first place, which seems especially relevant within the mentioned context of the Republican Party's recent despicable attacks on trans youth. There's a Trevor Project statistic that over half of trans and non-binary youth have seriously considered suicide in the past year. When I was a young teenager, I was one of those youths. According to a study from when I was a young teen, trans youth were 13 times more likely to attempt suicide on any given year if their parents were unaccepting, and I had unaccepting parents. For a while, I struggled with self-harm and even attempting suicide. What ultimately brought me out of being suicidal was because I acknowledged that so many people like me have had their voices and lives stolen by a world that doesn't care if they live or die, and the decision that I wasn't going to let my voice be stolen from me when it could be used to fight for all of the people who believed their only option was to take their own life. I personally know how awful being a suicidal trans youth is, when you feel like nobody is out there who can help you make it to the next day. And I'm joining the state committee to fight for and to be a voice of hope for all the people who feel like they don't have any hope and that there's no one fighting for them. I want to make sure that every young queer person knows that we at Mass Dems are always a place they can turn to for support and resources. In the context of mental health, especially in my community, there's a lot of talk about how finding a chosen family is very important when your biological family doesn't accept you. The Democratic Party has been my chosen family. Like most other families, everybody doesn't always get along, and there are passionate disagreements, but I always knew that this was a place I could come to, and I hope that you will accept me as one of the new non-binary representatives on the Democratic State Committee, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Haley, and to all of you, congratulations, and I'm going to allow everyone to unmute themselves and offer their congratulations for.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Welcome
Congratulations. Western Mass, congratulations.
Congrats. So excited to work with you all.
All right, we're going to get back to it because we really do have a packed agenda. We're going to the approval of the add-ons to the 2022 state convention. I'm going to go right into the caucus of the minority Democrats, and I'd like to recognize Vice Chair Leon Brathwaite to give a report of the caucus of minority Democrats.
Thanks, Gus. I'll give the reports a brief. We had a lot of work to do with a brief report. We had the capability of having 663 slots. We had a total of 503 applications. The caucus of minority Democrats met on April 11th to review the 503 applications that were submitted. There were 89 applications. There were 89 applications whose enrollment status as registered Democrats had to be verified. We had another 60 applicants who contacted to verify their ethnic status and was not recorded in their application. The final number of applications being submitted tonight for approval is 358. I would like to thank the following DSC members who made the calls: Russ Ashton, Sam Lau, who took time from his campaign to help, Parwez, Mel Poindexter, Brenda, and Nigel for his assistance in helping us. I would just recommend as an observation, going forward, recommend the application have a required field for ethnic identification and evidence that they're registered Democrats. That is my report.
Thank you, Leon. Without objection, I'm going to go to the additional reports and we'll just approve them all at the end. Okay, so we are now going to go to the Disability Outreach Subcommittee report and Colleen Flanagan.
Hello, thank you, Gus. The Disability Outreach Subcommittee met on April 12th, and we voted and approved the entire list of 134 disability add-on delegates. And that's our brief report.
And I would like to make an amendment. So we have an administrative amendment. We had a application sent to us from a longtime delegate who is blind. It did not go through the online form, and it is attached to, we have scanned in the packets, and it was scanned into the packet, but not recognized that it was an add-on application that wasn't submitted. And so this is for Mark Binnell of Auburn. And I believe we've added him to the list, but people may not have seen him in the earlier. So this was an administrative change between 5 and 7. So the new list that is online includes his name. We will now go to the LGBTQ plus subcommittee, and that is Diego Sanchez and Tanya Neslucin.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to welcome our 4 new state committee members, all of whom I hope will be part of the LGBTQ plus subcommittee. Some already are. Thank you, Haley. As far as our add-ons, we had total number of slots were 219. Our total applications were 264, and submitted for full approval was 125. This included some applicants who were identified in other categories. We qualified, double qualified. Tanya did the diligence of actually going through and verifying each inside of the Secretary of State's office. And Gus also did that. We had some applicants who had not had their voter profile identified correctly. We were very careful in eliminating any that did not meet the standard, either by being registered Dems for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts by the date of April 9th, which was the deadline, and any who did not have their voter profile in there. So we approved everyone who qualified, and I'm grateful to the committee. We met this past Sunday on Easter Sunday, and are grateful also to Nigel for stepping up in a tremendous way, and I'll pass it now to Tanya.
I'm fine, Diego. It's okay.
Who's fine, by the way. Thank you very much. Back to you, Gus.
Okay, great. And then, well, we've just found out that Leslie is not able to join, Leslie Braxton Campbell, and Alicia already had a youth commitment. And so I can give you the youth report. There were a total of 935 slots available. Total applications were 479. After the youth committee met, and actually they did a tremendous amount of work right in their meeting of verifying registrations. They are submitting 361 for approval. And you also have an additional list that was sent out from us, which is the pre-reg list, and these people are not 18, so they're not on the voter file. Actually did a lot of this manual lookup yesterday afternoon and today on the latest voter file. And so what we are going to do is reach out and verify, have them send us just that they're a Democrat. And with that, we have, I think, 43 there. That they, again, it would still fit in the number of slots that the youth are able to fit in. So with the verification, the administrative verification, that we confirm that they are Democrats. So that said, we have the report. Is there
I
discussion?
make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to accept all those lists of add-on delegates with your administrative changes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I see some names. I'm going to get to them. The motion has been made and seconded. So now we'll go to discussion. Elaine Almquist, Tyler, Terry, Christopher, Jason.
This is more a comment than, but just for clarification, the lower age limit for the youth add-ons was well defined in the rules. However, the upper age limit did not have a cutoff date. So the youth committee had a discussion during our meeting that we were in consensus that we would use the most inclusive date possible, which was that the person would have to be under 36 on the date of the November election, in case anybody is looking at some of the people who are on the upper edge of that. Thank you.
We will go to Tyler, then Christopher.
Mr. Chairman, just one quick note. I noticed on the list of LGBTQ add-ons, there was one name that we had approved that was a registered Democrat. Their name is Beth Arnold from Salem, but they weren't on the list that showed they were approved, but they were included at the meeting. So I think that name just got left off accidentally.
Okay, we will do some administrative lookup. We will do some administrative lookup. Christopher Jenkins.
Yes, just my annual request / reminder to send, please, full contact information to respective town and ward chair residents for recruiting purposes.
Thank you for doing that. We'll go Jason, Terry, Lewis, and then Walter.
Mr. Chairman, per our conversation earlier, there was an individual from Shrewsbury, Wendy Ziesman, who should have been qualified on the LGBTQ plus list. I just want to make sure she does not get missed before the vote.
No, she actually got added back. Nigel, I thought he texted you. Her name got her. She's got a middle name that people thought was her first name. So because we went back and looked at the original application, so with her first name, she was verified as a Democrat and she's on the list. So,
thank you.
Terry, then Lewis, then Walter.
Yeah, so I just had a quick question because I was looking through the list, and there was one person who I'm pretty sure did apply to be an add-on. His name was Max. Here, let me get it. Max is at 10, and I was just surprised that he wasn't on there because he was asked for his voter registration at the Ward 2 caucus in Newton, and he sent it in and it was approved. So I was just really surprised to see him not on this list. Just want to raise that.
Yeah, so send that to Nigel and I. We'll go to Lewis and then Walter, Marcia, then Jim.
Thank you. When we began this process about 25 years ago of add-ons, the Caucus of Minority Democrats did so to correct the racial imbalance of delegates that were going to the convention. So the question I have to all of the add-on groups, what percentage of the add-ons that they provide that were Black and Latino or Latinx? Because that not being corrected, then we still have the racial imbalance challenges that we faced before. And that's not where we think we're going.
So we did look at we did not hit any of the limits. Actually, the closest limit we came to with the limit of those people that identified Black, but they, some of them submitted their names for other categories, so we did not actually get over that limit. So we didn't hit any of the upper limits in any of the categories, and which highlights that in some of these categories, we still need work to do.
So what, in terms of racial balance, in terms of all categories, because we're not talking about any particular group, but if you're doing add-ons in a particular section, we have to sort of keep this balance so that we're not having a totally disproportionate number for delegates who are not Black and not Latinx. I mean, that was the purpose of add-ons. We, you know, the add-ons because they couldn't get elected any other way, and therefore, you know, we tried to balance off what was not happening in the convention and in the ward, you know, city and town wards elections.
So
now we have a separate process. How does that work in terms of racial balance?
So I think I guess we didn't hit any of the upper limits. So anyone that applied to be added on and qualified was added on. So no one was not added on because there wasn't a space for them. The people that were scrubbed from the list were primarily scrubbed because there were a number of them that were not registered Democrat, and there were a number that were not registered at all. So it just we are obviously in a better place than we were, because again, we would have reached that limit if, frankly, the group that a number of them went to were young, so they got moved over to the youth group because they applied for both. Does that help answer the question?
I think you're missing what I'm saying, because the add-on process was to address the disproportionate lack of Black and Latinx delegates to the convention. Right. We went through this process of saying that if they couldn't get elected for whatever reason, you know, in their ward and town committee, you know, vote, then we came up with this process of add-ons. Right. And now how and why it has moved into other areas of add-on and additions because they can't get elected, whatever the challenges are, it still has to have a racial balance that says that at the end of the day, the number of Black and Latinx people who are part of the Democratic State Committee delegates to the convention are proportionate to, you know, the number of Black and Latinx people that are within the party.
I do now I get to your specific point. We are actually in those categories. The numbers are in. Actually, I just pointed out the reason why. The numbers that are getting added on are higher than the proportions that may needed to have been for the category, and some of that is because we moved people over. So it is not, the add-ons that we are doing in this case are not bringing it down. To your point, though, when we address the rules for your future convention, there has been a number of comments we do need to look at, because, and this is more discussions about, we have to look at geography, because it's not only that, but this year people did a lot of work to try to get a geographic representation. That hasn't always been the case. But as we look at it, we need to make sure that the underrepresented communities, we're also getting them from other areas of the state and not just from one area, places where they need to be from. I will say that Nigel and the AOC committee did a tremendous amount of outreach from the beginning of this process and trying to educate and get applications. And I think that helped. Walter.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have two very quick questions. The first question is, how many in total add-ons are there?
It's a period of math, which we'll get back to you in a second, because it's adding those four groups together, which someone in the back end can do. Go ahead.
The second question is very quick. In the comment section, not all the lists are provided. I think there may have been some kind of MailChimp error. So I just wanted to make sure that all that was available, because otherwise I would have counted it myself. But we just have to make sure that all the lists are in there. I think 2 are in and 2 are getting some kind of email error.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so according to our agenda, which is good, we got 5 more minutes for this discussion. So we're just gonna keep going through this. Marcia, then Jim. I'm gonna then go to Dan, Dennis, and then Elaine.
Really simple question. This is a logistical. One of the third from the bottom on the youth, Felipe Zambrolini from Salem. His first name is misspelled. So who do I notify about that?
Just text Nigel or I.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Easy.
Jim, then Daniel, Dennis, then Elaine.
Thank you, Gus. I'm not sure if I understood your comments clearly before about the pre-registered youth, but I just wanted to let you know that if there's anything that I can do to help Abby O'Brien from Somerset get on, just let me know.
We're just going to verify they're Democrats. Okay, we'll go Dan, Dennis, Elaine, Becca, Senator Roush.
Thanks, Gus. Quick question about the list he sent out. It's broken up by town. Why is the Senate district not included on that list?
Probably oversight, but we will fix that.
All right, thank you.
Dennis, Elaine, Senator Roush, and then I think we'll close to the end.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to circle back to Lewis's question. And my question is this. Were there any Black or Latinx people who applied who were turned down?
Not unless they were not a Democrat or not registered.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Elaine? I don't hear you.
How about now? Good?
Yeah, good now, yeah.
My question also goes back to Mr. Alyssa's comments, because it seemed to me and that what he was asking was to compare the population demographics of the state to what our actual delegation population statistics are after we do the add-on, and make sure that we've actually met all of our minority representation goals. And I don't think we've answered that question. I know, Gus, what I heard from you was we didn't hit the upper limit, but did we hit our lower limits? Can we get like a pie chart or a percentage?
Yeah,
Can we get a report on whether or not we met those goals, please?
Senator Roush.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chair. I have just a sort of logistics process question. For the individuals who are 18 or over and thus eligible to register to vote, if they applied to be an add-on delegate and were not registered to vote, what happened next? And I'm specifically wondering if we as a party have provided them with voter registration information or assistance on that aspect of all of this deep work that I deeply appreciate that you and your staff and so many others and volunteers and committee members have been engaged in. Thanks very much, Mr. Chair.
I don't think anything, and so we will follow up with those people. Well, we have to actually. Thank you for pointing out. We have to follow up with these people anyways. We've been working, frankly, around the clock for a week just because of the amount of work it took to clean up these lists. I think when we let people know, we will then share with them a voter registration list, because we will also share with them why they were not added on. And so it'll be because they weren't added on.
Great, that's terrific.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks very much.
Are we able, okay, I'm gonna suggest that we shut off after these 3 speakers and try to get a vote so we can stay on the agenda. So Juan.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. I have a question. I have someone from Ward 3 in Boston who had applied to be on the add-on. Whoa, what's going on here? Sorry, my computer's spazzing out. That had registered to be an add-on in Ward 3 in Boston, submitted his application the day of. He's neither on the youth add-on or the affirmative action add-on as a Latinx. So his name is.
Yes, if you would share, we have a list as to why everyone was removed. And as I said, Nigel cleared up one where the person had first name, middle name, last name, but somehow it got transferred, so that's why they were not found. So just Sharon, if it's administrative issue, we'll fix it. Steve, then Bill Shemet.
Good evening, I guess. A quick procedural question. Whether we need to make the motion so that you have the administrative ability to add people on that should have been in the vote that we're taking tonight?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So I'm gonna, after Bill, I'm gonna go to you for the motion. Bill Shemet.
Since I made that motion, I'll just accept that as a friendly amendment.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. So it's a
And,
friendly, yeah, we're in discussion.
And then secondly, in addition to sending out those who were elected as add-on delegates this evening, I would also request that you send out those folks who clearly indicated an interest in our party, but weren't registered yet to the local town committees. Sometimes the most effective outreach to get them registered is a local outreach.
That's excellent. Okay. So we're going to go to the vote. I do have a number for you. The number of slots that were available to be added on was 1,951. That is not what we added on, but that was the number that was available to be added on. All righty. All those in favor of the add-ons, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye. Yes,
Aye.
I'm opposed.
Okay. That's
I'm opposed.
Yep. Okay. The ayes have it, and we have add-on delegate. We have, they have been approved. I really want to thank the subcommittees themselves. They did a tremendous amount of work, but I am going to highlight our senior political director, Nigel Simon, who worked extremely hard shepherding all of this through. So Nigel, thanks very much. But to all of the members, thank you. I'm about to go to the affirmative action and outreach report. I see a hand from Mel. We're trying to stick with the agenda, Mel.
No, just wanted to as kind of dovetail on what point was raised by Lewis and a few other members tonight. I think we need to have the committee chairs, each committee with the caucus sit down and sort of reevaluate the process that we just went through as to the add-on process to make sure that we correct some of the hiccups that happened in this last process. And I think that Leon kind of touched on that in his early report, but I motion that we have a post meeting after this meeting to the chairs. We can kind of, again, fix the hiccups and sort of, catch some of the things that happened this last session.
Sounds great. Terry, we've heard from you a bunch tonight. Do you want to take some more time or can we move on?
We can move on. I just wanted to say I agree with Melvin.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We did want to hear from, we're going to hear from the AOC, but part of that was also to hear from our consultant, Carol Copeland Thomas. I don't know if she's on, so we may skip ahead. Do we want to? I don't see her on, so can Nigel or someone inform me what, are we waiting or should we just go AOC or are we waiting for her to get on?
Yeah, we can wait for her to get on, Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so hopefully I'm not throwing our rules chair a surprise. I am going to recognize our rules chair, Bill Eddy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great to be with you here tonight. We look forward to seeing you in Worcester in a couple months moving forward. So the Rules Committee met 2 weeks ago, and 2 items were on our agenda. One, to update any rules to the convention that we thought was necessary, and to bring before you for your consideration. And the second, to review the code of conduct that was passed by the State Committee for volunteers and staff and referred to the Rules Committee for discussion about usage for members of the State Committee. On the first item, updating rules for the state convention, we found only one area that we wish to update and put before you for your consideration. It is the belief of the Rules Committee and completely understanding the current health conditions in Massachusetts that continue to evolve, and we certainly hope will evolve for the better by June 3rd and 4th. The Rules Committee puts before you a recommendation, unanimous recommendation, that all delegates and staff and volunteers who are on the floor of the convention, and by floor of the convention, I mean any areas of the arena, must be vaccinated to be on the floor. The definition of vaccination is the CDC definition of fully vaccinated, which means either 2 shots of Moderna, 2 shots of Pfizer, or 1 shot of J&J. And that is our unanimous recommendation to you. The second item before us, Gus, I don't know if you want to take one at a time, or do you want me to get the whole report out and do a vote?
Let's take one at a time, please. Just
Okay,
because
there you go.
So there is a motion.
Second the motion?
Second motion. Is there a discussion? Terry?
Yeah, I'm really sorry to ask this, but if for the people who are vaccinated, is there going to be requirements to see if for like boosters or anything like that, or is it just doing the 2 shots to make sure we can have like a universal one?
No, Terry, we're going with just simply the CDC definition of fully vaccinated, which is the 2 shots or the 1 in J&J. And if the state committee approves, we will work with the chair to come up with a process for how delegates will inform the state party that they are vaccinated.
And we've already started working with the facility. I'm going to go to Senator Rouse, Rush Ashton, Bill Shemeth, Julie Curtis.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I actually had a similar question to Terry. Why wouldn't we require boosters? Because for anyone who's going to be on the floor, if my understanding is correct, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, the only people allowed on the floor would be people who are eligible for boosters, perhaps even 2 boosters at this point. And we know, particularly with the Omicron strains and sub-strains, that boosters are deeply important to protecting against the further spread of COVID. So I certainly deeply appreciate the recommendation from the Rules Committee, but I'm very curious to hear more about why boosters are not required in addition to the initial shots.
Sure. Thank you, Senator. And look, I absolutely understand what you're saying, and as someone, many of us have already received boosters. The Rules Committee was hesitant to place ourselves as the authority on what is a vaccination requirement. Other venues in the state have used CDC guidelines, and the CDC guidelines clearly state, even as of today, that the 2 shots, the primary vaccines, are considered fully vaccinated, and booster shots are recommended, but not considered part of fully vaccinated. And obviously the state committee can set its own rules, but we were hesitant as a Rules Committee to get ahead of a CDC recommendation and to get ahead of what other venues, including the Garden, have used all year.
Okay, I appreciate that context. I appreciate that context. If I have any further questions, I'll just raise my hand again. Thank you very much.
Russ,
thank you, Senator.
Russ Ashton.
Yeah, this is a very difficult topic. First of all, the federal government says that we should be wearing our masks. Then the court comes in and says that and they are not doctors. They're saying, now you do not wear a mask. It's a very difficult process. It's just like I visited the State House, and going to the State House, here are all our legislators, and nobody was wearing a mask. Even to enter the State House, none of the staffing was wearing a mask. It's the group that I was with we were determined that we are a masked group because there's no definite decision on how this epidemic is going. So it's going to be a difficult process for us to determine what a delegate needs to present to prove that they are vaccinated, number one. Number two, if they do not have the proper identification, what are the penalties, and are they going to be listed before anyone goes to the convention? This is a hard place to walk in with what we're putting down. So we need a lot of forethought. We need a committee that's going to be able to acknowledge, give direction, and be able to penalize.
I appreciate it, and I am confident that we can develop a process that, working with the chairman, working with the staff. Arenas have been doing this all year. To go to a Celtics game at the Boston Garden all year, fans have had us show back, status using either their card or a photo of the card with their ID. I'm very confident that we can develop a process that IDs delegates and gets them on the floor. Oh, and also another basis of that confidence is we're a Democratic Party. I mean, we're the party that believes in science. We're the party that believes in vaccinations. I find it hard to believe in a state that 80% of our people are vaccinated, that Democratic activists coming to a convention are going to somehow try to get away with getting in unvaccinated. Now, that may be naive, but I don't believe it is.
Bill Shemin.
Bill, so there is going to be a possibility that there are folks who chose not to get vaccinated or for medical reasons couldn't be. And they may not have the technology available to them to join the convention virtually. So what plans are you going to make to ensure that those folks get the technology and assistance to enable to them to attend virtually if they're not going to be allowed to attend in person?
Bill, good to see you. As you know, this convention was always envisioned as a hybrid. And the party is fully prepared, especially after the exercise of the platform convention last year. It is fully prepared to do a virtual component, and I am assured, maybe Mr. Chairman, you might want to talk a little about this. The chairman has assured me that we are going to be able to record votes of all those, and we do expect a significant number of delegates to participate virtually. Mr. Chairman, you want to talk about that at all?
No, that's absolutely correct, and you will be able to vote by phone. So we try to meet all of the obligations so that it'll be completely accessible. What I am going to do, because of the significant number of hands, try to keep people to 30 seconds. Bill's still chairing the meeting, but I'm going to help with the timing on that. If try to stay with new information. So we will now go to Steve Leibowitz, Marcia, Kevin, Diego.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we at least need some statement to the effect that the minimum requirement is the CDC, but that we strongly urge and recommend all those eligible for boosters to do so. Having had my second vaccine almost a year ago, if I had not had any boosters since then, I would be no more protected than someone that did not have any vaccine. So I don't think the CDC guideline is really what we should be looking at.
That's 30 seconds. Marcia, then Kevin, then Diego.
Really simple. What is the percentage expected of delegates attending in person versus virtual? How will delegates decide, and by when? Because I have a delegate that asked me this question. They need to notify the party, if that's the thing. And what about the vaccine status of the staff at the facility?
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Bill. Do you want me to answer that? Yeah.
I think you would know that better than I would.
So number one is not a simple question. but will be answered by number 2. We are going to request that people, and we need this for our operation, let us know whether they plan to attend or not. It will be clear how we word it, that is not, that if you change your mind, that's fine. It's just that, are you planning on attending or not? Because that's going to significantly help us figure out what the facility, needs to look like. Because no, we don't know. I mean, I've heard.
Is there going to be a means by which people can do that?
Yes, yeah. So we are going to, frankly, that's going to be one of the test votes. So as you are learning to use the voting system, so we're trying to get this information by May 20th. So we will know. But again, I want to be very clear. And so hear me clearly. If you say that you're coming and you decide last minute you can't come, you are still the same delegate participating virtually. If you were virtual and you decided to come, and you can still come, but it just gives us an idea as to what to expect. Kevin, Diego, Dennis.
No, I'm fairly certain, not 100%, but I'm fairly certain that, the idea of fully vaccinated, they haven't changed the definition, because originally they weren't sure if a booster would even be needed. And so they said fully vaccinated with 2 with the Moderna and Pfizer and 1 with the Johnson. But they've discovered that it was needed. And not only that, but they've discovered that if your last booster was more than 4 months ago, you should have a second booster. And those are all at the same stringency of recommendation. No one is required to get, I guess some people are not, CDC doesn't force people to get any vaccinations, including fully so. But the fully, I think the actual recommendation of the CDC is, the full, which they thought might have been sufficient, then a booster within a certain time period, and for those more than 4 months from the first booster, a second. So those are the actual recommendations.
Great. Terrific. Diego, then Dennis, then Colin.
Thank you. 30 seconds, only new information. Number 1, the federal judge that made the ruling was in Tampa, Florida. So that's enough said on that. Number 2 is that I was just at a meeting at the White House recently. I wore my mask without reservation and without variance. I was among very few who did not get sick, among a lot of people who did not wear their mask. I'm double boosted now, but at the time I was single boosted, but it had been more than 4 months. So I think as a party of honor, if people don't feel they're fully protected, they can wear a mask to help themselves, but also help those around them. I'll stop.
Diego, the Rules Committee had a discussion on masks, and absolutely we agree with you that anybody who wants to wear a mask, we expect numerous people to do so. As a mandate, we're going to follow, having talked to the chair and then talk to the Rules Committee, we're going to follow local guidelines. Right now, the city of Worcester, like every other municipality, has no mask mandate. But obviously, if something changes between now and June 3rd, we would certainly change that.
We are going to go to Dennis and then Colin and then Senator Roush.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I was going to ask a question about masking and distancing. I think the masking has been answered. Was there any discussion at the Rules Committee about distancing, or is there any provision for distancing in the convention?
Dennis, that never came up. No, it was not.
I'm surprised. Don't you think it should have?
I don't presume to think what it should have. The members, it's a very lively, vibrant committee. It just never came up.
Oh, I just thought as perhaps setting the agenda that you might have brought it up, but thanks. So people are on their own as far as that's concerned then, or is it not too late to consider?
Well, I think obviously, as the staff and the chair and begin to look at the seating plan, I imagine, Dennis, that the number of delegates showing up in person versus virtual will determine our ability to space and will determine how many delegates are on the floor versus, in the bowl.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Bill. And I suppose that that's true. I just wonder, and this is to the chair, how soon will we be making choices with regard to whether we'll be virtual or present?
We plan to stay hybrid all the way until someone tells us we're not able to attend in person. So even if it tightens up, it will still be up to, and we are going to follow all the recommended, not just the guidelines and other things that are set forward, seating and everything else as we get closer. But we are going to, we're going to do a hybrid convention unless there is some type of emergency that doesn't allow us to do indoor events.
No, I think I didn't make myself clear, Mr. Chairman. I was just asking, when are you going to put out something so we make our choice?
Oh,
The
probably
delegates.
early May. It's
Okay,
going to be
thanks.
a couple times. Yep.
Appreciate it.
All right. Colin, then the center.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say, if you look at the rise of the BA2 subvariant, the wastewater data is heading in the wrong direction. Would urge the reconsideration of requiring masks, and that all feasible measures be taken. For a lot of the folks in the disability community who my organization represents, attending in person may pose a genuine risk. Obviously, many folks, I'm grateful people have the option to attend remotely, but we don't want the convention to become a potential super spreader event. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Roush, then Zelda, then Haley.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. Just while this conversation was unfolding, I looked at the CDC website and I'm reading from it now. And the FAQs for COVID-19 with regard to the following question, do I need a COVID-19 vaccine booster? The answer is very clearly yes. The protection COVID-19 vaccines provides decreases over time, especially for certain groups of people. And then there is an additional question beneath that says, am I still considered quote unquote fully vaccinated if I don't get a booster? Yes, the definition of fully vaccinated has not changed, but it also says, and I'm quoting here, fully vaccinated, however, is not the same as having the best protection. People are best protected when they stay up to date with COVID-19 vaccinations, which includes getting boosters when eligible. And so I think as we consider what to do here, with regard to our first in-person convention since the onset of COVID-19, we should really carefully consider what the CDC is recommending as the best protection, despite the maintained definition of, or really added on to the maintained definition of fully vaccinated, which, as was stated by a previous speaker, goes back to when we didn't even have vaccines at all.
Okay, I'm going to really encourage people to just introduce new information. Thank you, Senator. That was very well done. So we will do Zelda, then Haley, then Ralph.
Hi, Zelda. Only new information here. I think that based on what Senator Roush has told us and what we all frankly know very well, that we should move to mandate boosters. Remember, we're not just talking about us. We're talking about the people who work there and don't have a choice but to be exposed to us lest they lose their job. So I move to mandate boosters.
Seconded.
Seconded.
So it's been seconded. So
Second.
Second.
We've got a second. It's been seconded. We need to figure out, because again, this has to be enforced. So one of the things, the Mass Vax passport was what we were going to use. I am unfamiliar to know how much that reveals as to where you are in your process. Does that list everything?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interject, Mr. Chair. This is Becca Roush. I am relatively conscious to answer your question. I'm relatively confident that the Mass Vax booster system does reflect any boosters that you receive. I can double check that, but when I last saw the technology, it was reflecting booster shots.
So what definition do we use as to what booster you must have? It's a little bit more specific for the membership. And there's a ton of hands going up. We're going to limit positive.
I'm going to ask for a point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Point of information.
Part of yes, MaxVax has the information, but if you didn't, you go through the mass vac system to get your vaccination, it's not going to show you had your booster. And I'm not in it because I went through the hospital and it doesn't necessarily switch over. So the only thing that I have is a printed card.
Which we would accept.
Wait, I understand that, but I'm just saying, if we were relying on mass vax to have all the information, it's not all going to be there.
Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. I think Bill said it earlier, though, that we would do that in the card for that reason. Okay, I just need to ask, but then I want to get back to the debate because I want to get this done. Because I want to do this, but I also want to make sure that we are able to get, like, be able to know, inform people what they need to do. How are we going to inform delegates what is fully back?
It's Zelda's motion. You should ask Zelda.
Zelda?
Mr. Chair, I'm also happy to jump in here.
Yeah,
it's not my motion, but if it's
go right ahead.
No, sorry, I'm here too, but I think
Okay.
Senator Roush is probably better for this.
Okay, let's go. Go ahead, Senator.
Thanks, everybody. The booster eligibility is defined in part by age and in part by medical status. So that can be worked out in terms of there will inevitably be some form of honor system involved, because I don't think the party is or arguably should be in the place of asking for people's medical histories. So there's an age definition for sure. If people over a certain age, I believe it's 65, I would have to look at the.
That's correct.
Thank you. People age 65 and over are now eligible for a second booster, regardless of any other health status factors. And I think there is a very narrow group of people with additional medical circumstances that may be eligible for a second booster, but everyone else age, I believe 12 and up, is eligible for the first booster. So that takes care of all of our delegates, that you should at least have one booster. And that might be the maybe the simple way to go here is to say, or the simpler way to go here, maybe to say everyone should have at least one booster. And if you are 65 and older, have the second booster.
So Zelda, so I'm going to keep moving this on. Zelda, will you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, we're going to go to discussion. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to limit everybody. We got a ton of hands. So I'm going to ask you so the motion on hand is that people must be vaxxed and have a single booster, or if they're 65 and over, have two. If I have not said that correctly, quickly fix the motion. Okay, not. Now what I'm going to do is we're speaking to the motion and we're going to try to limit this.
Can you please clarification, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go quick.
Yes, that's not what I heard. What I heard was the standard should be fully vaccinated should be 2 shots and at least one booster. There was a discussion about people 65 and over might be able to have that second booster.
Right.
I think you're eliminating people and
wait, are you
accused of being just a little bit age discriminating?
Okay, hold on. Let me go back and if you would just refine it, just say it, and let's get the motion out there so that it's very clear. And then I want to get to the debate. So,
Gus, you keep saying motion. Aren't we talking about an amendment?
Yes, an amendment to the motion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it was, the definition was at
Sam, I'm not recognizing.
Oh, okay.
I am asking the friendly amendment maker, Senator, to clarify her motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll defer to Zelda, who has made the motion. But I believe what we are trying to get at here is that everyone has been boosted to the level that they are eligible to get boosted, right? Some people are eligible to get one booster and other people are eligible to get 2 boosters. And I've just received a message that it's maybe people 50 and over who are eligible for the second booster. So I will check that now, as I'm, having this conversation, as we proceed.
Okay, so we're gonna, if you are in
Point
favor.
of information, Mr. Chairman, it is 50 because I've already got my second booster on 50.
It's 50.
This
right.
is Zelda. I just want to clarify that yes, what Senator Rash said is correct
Great.
from my side.
Okay, so
Second.
we are now going to, if you are in favor of that amendment, I'm going to ask if you're in favor or against, and we're going to do 5 in favor and 5 against, and then we'll see if anybody wants to add additional information. Haley, do you want to speak on this, on the amendment?
I would not like to speak on the
Okay,
amendment.
yep,
I would
we'll
like to talk about
recognize
the
you as soon as
motion.
we're done. Ralph, do you want to speak on the amendment?
No, it's up. I just,
Stephen,
I don't even understand. I don't understand the amendment, first of all. I'm sorry, Russ.
Okay, the amendment is, so we are asking people, the original motion was that they be fully vaxxed by the definition of the CDC. The motion is to improve upon that, the definition of what we will accept as fully vaxxed is that you have received the boosters that you are eligible to receive. So if you are eligible to receive 2 boosters, you must receive 2 boosters.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So let's.
Point of information, please.
Okay.
Again.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Again, I get more concerned. Eligible to receive. So now we're getting into people's medical records. Now, if somebody unfortunately could only receive the original 2 shots and something happened and they couldn't get a booster, or they received the original 2 shots and they got a booster, and now they have a medical condition, they're not eligible. How do we
It
know?
sounds to me like you're speaking against, so.
No, I'm asking what eligible means.
To me, what eligible means is what the definition, because as the senator pointed out, it actually says what you are able to on the site. Because I haven't been there today, but when we had the rules committee, I was on there and we were looking at what fully vaxxed was, and it had all of these, but it did not make it mandatory to be in the definition of fully vaxxed. As the senator said, they're recommended. So if you are eligible to receive it, so I am going to go, I'm going to stake for and against, and I'm going to try to keep track because we're going to keep this on. So we're going to go with Stephen O'Leary.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm opposed to the proposed friendly amendment here. I believe, first of all, I was a bit disappointed that there were no specifics in relation to regarding the boosters, no spacing, no mask mandate, and with the party of science, as was stated, in vaccines. However, I think things should be equal in relation to what is required. Everybody that is eligible to be a delegate is eligible to have a booster. I believe that's the minimum requirement that should be required at this point in time. So I think for those that are over 65 or over 50, again, there are varying reasons, whether it be the date or whether it be other reasons why not, and guidance. I think it's unfortunate at this point. Voting against, I'm opposed to the amendment as proposed. I'm in favor of requiring boosters.
Okay. Norma, are you in favor or against?
I'm in favor, and I'd like to suggest that when we mentioned how are we going to let people know, that we let people know now so that if they haven't gotten the booster shot, they have time to go get it.
Yeah,
and
when this meeting is done, everybody will find out what the rules are. So
right, and if I might add that I am still concerned that people will be coming thinking that they don't have to wear masks, because I think that's more significant than whether they've gotten the last booster shot from my point of view.
Thank you. We'll go to Russ and then Mark. Russ, are you in favor or against?
I am against. I think it is age discrimination because it is not a definitive answer from CDC or any that it is available for seniors to get the second shot. It is not mandatory. So I am against only because it's a part of age discrimination.
Mark Cody, are you for or against?
How do I add my name? I'm for. Can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead. We're even.
Sure. I'm in favor of us having this requirement. I think that it is very reasonable. And as someone who's under 50, I actually have been double boosted. So it is definitely very doable. And while many places don't have vaccine requirements, I've gone to several establishments where it's very simple. You just have a person at the door who checks the cards. They can do it easily within 15 to 30 seconds, and then they move on to the next person. It's very doable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Oh, just the idea that fully boosted was a definition that they had discussions in the CDC and other colleagues that I know, and they decided not to change the terminology, even though it could lead to the very confusion we have. But there's no mandate, there's no requirement. All of the original fully vaccinated, as well as the boosters, are all recommended. Now, the only thing I would say is, whatever they're up to date. No, but they're up to date to the recommended shots. Because if someone never had the vaccine and just recently had both, then they wouldn't be in need of it. They wouldn't be even eligible for a booster. So as long as they're pretty much up to date and on CDC recommendations.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to Chris and then Lewis. Christopher Jenkins and then Lewis Alisi.
Yes, thank you. I'm against, by the way, you put me down for against, especially the part about tiered enforcement. I just, it's too complicated for a host of reasons to have different rules for different people. And I'd also like to plant the flag for a little bit of libertarianism. I mean, I think most of us are mostly vaccinated, and it's really just time to stop worrying about every new variant. And if people are not comfortable going to convention in person, then there's a hybrid option, and that's what it's for. So I'd rather just stick to the status quo we already have in terms of.
So far we've been very even. So Lewis, are you for or against?
I'm against it. I'm against the.
Okay, then after you, I'm going to take a 4. So go ahead, Lewis.
Okay, I'm against the amendment and I'm against the motion. And let me just be very clear. As a person who had to work for the last 2 years to just get access for the people in my community to vaccines and everything else, I know that a lot of people who might be eligible do not always have the capability of getting the vaccines, and clearly the boosters. These are not free in many places. So we have these requirements that are in place, and maybe they can get it by the time we have our convention. But I just want to be clear, it's not eligibility, it's accessibility. And there's nothing we did as a party to make sure that people in low-income communities and other folks were able to get better access and have more opportunities to be able to get the first vaccine, let alone the booster. So you set up a standard to make require people to get something that if they're not capable financially to do. So it's not a fair access.
Lewis, thank you. I'm going to look for a 4, and then I'm going to suggest that we close debate and go to a vote.
I'm a 4, Mr. Chairman. I've not been recorded.
I'm against.
Oh, Ralph, I thought you were.
I'm a 4.
Go ahead. No, Ralph, go ahead.
against.
Ralph is going.
Yeah. And just so you know, I went to Hawaii in February. You couldn't go out to dinner or in a museum or anywhere without showing a vaccination card. In fact, you couldn't even get on the airplane in Logan without showing a vaccination card ahead of time. There's a way to download it from the state archives and get it on your iPhone or whatever you're using for communication device. So this is really, in my opinion, this time is being wasted. I think we should be protecting ourselves and not being worried about libertarian values, which quite frankly are the extreme of the Republican Party. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So thank you, Ralph. I think that
Call the question.
Okay, the question has been called.
Second.
No debate.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, the question's been called. I will take the point of information.
Is the clarification on the eligibility issue just the 50 and above for the 2 shots? Because there are other categories, but then you're getting into people's personal medical history, as someone spoke to.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if, just a brief thing. As
This
I
is
hear
more
this,
information. What is this?
as I hear this, I believe it was said earlier that we can do best effort. We're not in a position.
Hold on, you're making a debate here. Let's.
I was trying to answer the question there, because with the second booster, people that have a medical reason for that, we're also eligible for a second booster, but we're not really in a position to be making that determination on spot.
I think what we need to do is we need to go to a vote, and we need to recognize the intent of the motion. And
Again, the amendment.
the amended motion, thank you. We are going to go to a vote on the amended motion. I think we're just going to send out a ballot because, I mean.
Yes, Gus, you're not clear. You keep saying amended motion. The amendment itself should have its own vote.
I understand.
Up or down.
That is exactly.
That's what the vote should be on.
That I understand.
Point of information.
I really do understand you. So let me try to get this going because we need to get it going. We are going to vote on the amendment to the motion. So it's whether the motion gets amended or not. And we are going to, while the vote is happening, go on to other committee reports. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try a polling function, okay, just to see if it's overwhelming one way or the other. To me, because of the debate, it sounded 50-50 and we're going to have to go to a vote. So those people.
Please repeat what we are voting on.
What we are voting on is to amend the motion to require people to be fully vaccinated. And so that it is an improved definition of fully vaccinated, you have to have received the boosters you are eligible to receive.
Okay.
Okay, so we will go to the polling function and we'll just see if it's significantly weighted one way or another. And so if you are in favor of the amended motion, you're going to click the green yes.
The amendment.
The amended to amend the motion. Thank you, Pat, for clarifying.
Yep.
If you are in favor to amend the motion, you are going to click the green. If you are against it, you're going to click red. We're going to just do this for 2 minutes to see if it's significantly weighted.
A red.
It's in your more.
These things don't stay that long. So
There is a polling function. There you go. It's on the bottom there. If it's
In
reactions. It's in reactions.
Point of information.
Chairman, I think you should make it clear that there may be a motion offered to just require the first booster shot as a compromise. And people need to be aware that that would be offered after this does not prevail.
Let's just keep this vote going for a second.
Afraid of a little needle.
Where do we find the votes, Mr. Chair?
You're in the reactions, you'll see a poll.
And we hit the green.
Green if you're in favor of the
Okay.
to amend the motion, and red if you are opposed to amend the motion.
Yeah. Well, you're supposed to click the green, not the red.
So the motion is on the screen.
Gus, that is not what the amendment said.
To improve.
No, it didn't say, it did not say to improve the definition of fully vaccinated. When the senator was reading the amendment, the language in the CDC was something like maximum protection. It didn't.
Daniel, just really quickly, I did send this over to Senator Roush and it seemed like it was okay, but if the senator would like to change that.
We weren't asking to change a definition. I mean, that's a CDC thing, but in reading the FAQ, the senator said something about maximum protection.
Yeah,
the language was different.
Hi, everybody. Veronica, I'm sorry for the confusion. I sent two messages back to you, so I apologize for that confusion. I do think there's utility to swapping out the phrase "fully vaccinated" because of the language that the CDC uses, and instead use the phrase best protection, which is also the language that the CDC uses with regard to boosters. So that, I mean, it's a linguistic change, though the content is
I just keeping in mind that we have about the majority of folks have now voted, and so I'm happy
Yeah.
to change the language. I just
What are we voting for?
So what we're
on
voting-
the screen.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Many people-
Veronica,
Seriously,
Wait,
no.
and everybody else, let Gus just clarify what we're voting for.
okay,
The
hold
more
on.
people are
I'm-
talking, the more confusing it's.
I just muted. Veronica, change it, because that was the intent, so change it, just those two words, to best protection. Okay.
It should be up to date, Gus.
Well,
It's the
fully-
phraseology.
Say up to date.
Okay, and it
I'm
looks
sorry,
as
Gus,
though,
Can you just state what you want me to put up here? I don't, it's too many people are yelling.
okay, to improve upon the definition of best, I just heard the senator say it, best.
Up to date.
It's the language from the CDC Gus,
Protection.
is best protection
Best protection.
against
best
the
protection.
spread of COVID-19, which is distinct from the way the CDC defines "quote unquote" fully vaccinated. That's the confusion that
Okay,
that
we're
But it
people are having.
also says up to date.
We're gonna leave this poll up for another minute, and it actually doesn't look as close as I thought, so.
Yeah.
we're
Can we
gonna-
further clarify in the motion? The motion says require attendees to be fully vaccinated, and the amendment should include some adjustment to account for the change.
Well, so the amendment would be require the attendees to be fully vaccinated and to meet the definition of best protection against the spread of COVID-19 as defined by the CDC, and you have received the full boosters and are eligible to receive.
All definitions of best protection is to wear a mask. That is the best protection. Everything else is a crapshoot.
Okay, I'm going to close this vote, and I'm going to rule that the amendment has passed. And we are then going to, it seems like we've got a move here, which the staff's going to have to work on to figure out how to best inform our delegates, our convention attendees. So should we go right to a vote of the initial motion?
Could you state the initial motion again?
So it is require attendees to be fully vaccinated in it, as well as meet the definition of best protection against the spread of COVID as defined by the CDC, that you have received the boosters you are eligible for.
I think
Gus,
if
Gus, it's Leon. One of the things we're missing is the CDC says a person is up to date if they've received the recommended vaccines and one booster when eligible. Getting the second booster is not necessarily considered this time. But if you use the word up to date, we're going to ask our delegates to be able to
We didn't add
read
the
it
words.
somewhere.
We didn't add the words. We're going to look at the definition of best protection against spread of COVID-19.
Wear a mask.
It says up to date on the CDC website. That's the language.
Actually recognize people who are raising their hands instead of just talking out of order, please.
Thank you, Elaine. Okay, we're now back to the main motion. We'll go to Elaine. We're going to do this for 7 minutes and see how that works. Elaine?
I would also like to offer an amendment to the motion to require everyone inside the hall to be wearing masks.
Seconded.
Seconded.
Second.
Motion and seconded for masks. We'll spend some time on debate on this. Okay, so it's moved and seconded that you must wear masks inside the convention hall. If you are, let's go to debate. Colin, are you in favor?
I had a question regarding the previous motion, the wording that I think
Okay,
might-
we're moved on from that. Juan, do you want to talk about masking?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think we should require masking, but I would also say that in some gateway communities, vaccinating has been difficult, and I would propose that in this masking requirement, we amend that the party also commit to some vaccination outreach to these delegates. Many of them gateway communities are working class and may not have correct access.
Okay,
Since
let's,
I'm staying
we're
home,
gonna stay on, we're just
none of
talking
these
about
people
masking.
can be-
I'm moving, we're gonna mute everybody, I'm muting everybody.
I am too. I want to vote for Matt.
We are going to go to Christopher. Folks, we need to stay on the motion. So we're gonna do this for another 6 minutes. Christopher, are you in favor or against?
Against.
Okay, speak.
I just think
On
that for a
masking.
long time, the masking is redundant. I, for one, do find it, even under the best of circumstances, to be a little difficult to keep air circulating. I think it has actually been days, if not weeks at this point, since I've had one on. And I am just looking forward to deciding that it's time to move on. And again, if people are uncomfortable with that, they can use the hybrid option.
Okay, so we've got Haley, are you in favor or against?
I'm in favor.
Okay, speak.
The reason why I'm in favor is because we are a party that is supposed to be inclusive. I hear all the time from leadership that we are a Big Tent party. It is time to prove it by making sure that we have a convention that is welcoming and accessible, not just to the people who are able-bodied, but the people who have disabilities, the people who are immunocompromised, and the delegates who live with people who are immunocompromised. So to me, it is a compromising of our party values if we do not have a safe space for people who have
Thank you,
disabilities.
Haley. Thank you, Haley. Patty, are you in favor or against?
I am in favor, and I agree with what she just said, and I just feel like if we're, especially given that the night before is going to be a bunch of gatherings with people who will have absolutely no idea what their vaccination status is, then we're going to all get together the next day. I feel like it's kind of crazy to not require masks in addition to being up to date on your vaccines.
Okay, we're gonna go to someone against. Mark, are you against? Linda? are you-
I'm in favor.
Okay, Linda, are you against?
Against.
Go ahead, Linda.
I very strongly oppose this. I think it's extremely unwise. I think it's discriminatory on a number of levels. I think the whole discussion of what is fully vaccinated and the science is a moving target, and new information is coming out. For those who are really following this, and I am, new information is coming out every week. We know that the vaccines do not protect against transmission or infection. There is much more.
That's
that
30
we
seconds.
know. Wait, let me finish. Let me please just
Okay,
finish.
10 seconds.
I also think in terms of if this gets out, that we are going to lose votes from the body that is the largest group in our state. That's the independents. I think that our party is out of touch
Thank you,
with
Linda.
where the independents are on this issue.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Yep, Mark, you're up in favor.
Thank you. Hi, I think it's interesting how some people feel that it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, unpleasant to have to continue to mask at large gatherings. But you know, I thought our party is one where we prioritize health and science, and the health and science shows that in many cases, we're playing catch up with vaccination. Masking is the only way to ensure we don't have a large scale headline in the newspaper after our convention saying that it was a super spreader event. If we don't want that headline,
thank you,
then masking is the way to go.
Okay, I'm gonna look for a second. I'm trying to figure out, okay, so
I'm against.
Okay, hold on. Is that Dennis? Who's against?
No, that was Bill
not
Bowles.
me.
Okay.
That was Bill Bowles.
I don't see your hand raised, Bill. Go ahead, Bill.
I strongly oppose that the rest of the country is all moving toward no masks. I agree with the person who said that it's going to put us in trouble with the independents. The vaccination is the way to go. In my mind, what we should be doing is just having the 2 shots and 1 additional booster, and then just call it a day. But I'm strongly against the requirement for masks.
Okay, we've got one more speaker in favor, and then we're gonna go to a vote. Steve, is that you?
It is me.
Okay.
Um,
Actually, Steve, I'm gonna go to Jeremy Camo. Are you in favor?
I'm in favor. I just have 2 points really quick. First of all, as a point of order, folks should use the term previous speaker instead of using people's pronouns. I think that's super important going forward, especially with folks who are non-binary and queer that have just been added to the state committee. Second, I would just say that there are folks who are required to attend the convention, including staff, as well as staff for candidates. They're required to attend the convention and don't have the say like we all do here. So I'm in favor of the mask. I'm in favor of the vaccine as well.
So we're gonna go to a I've muted myself. We're going to go the same way we did it before. Please go into reactions. The main motion is on the screen. If you're in favor, click green. If you're red, click, if you're against, click red. And then we will go back to the Rules Committee report.
I guess I do red again.
Please read what's in front of us, please.
Require attendees to be fully vaccinated as well as meet definition of best practices against spread of COVID-19 by the CDC. You have received boosters you are eligible to receive.
Are we voting on the mask amendment first, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, thank you so much
Yes.
for reminding me. We are voting on the mask amendment. We are just voting right now on masks. I'm sorry. If you want to change, you are able to change your vote. Wearing a mask at the convention. This is an amendment to the motion that to be in the facility, you must be masked. Okay, I'm going to call the vote right there. It is right now, it's significant. It's 118 to 18, 118 to 18. Now we are going to go to the main motion.
118 to 18 for how?
Although, okay, got to clear this.
Oh, for the mask.
Okay, got to mute everybody here.
I'm muted.
Clear all feedback.
You don't hear me, do you?
Okay. Yeah, we hear you.
You do hear somebody.
Okay. We are now going to the main motion. All in favor of the main motion, click green. Any opposed, click red. Okay, the motion is passed. We will go back to the chair, Bill Eddy, to the second party Rules Committee report.
Yeah, there's actually, I actually heard in the beginning, I actually have a third part. So there's a second on the convention. I actually neglected to remind folks that the Rules Committee also, in coordination with the chairman and I believe the campaigns, we have acknowledging that we have 5 contested races. We will have 2 ballots. The first ballot will be the Secretary of State, the auditors, and the, what am I missing? What am I missing, Gus? I'm missing one.
Attorney General.
Attorney General, thank you very much. Losing my mind. On those 3 races, we will have a 12-minute, not rather than 15-minute, presentation by each candidate in nomination. Then, when we are counting those ballots, we will have a second ballot, second version of the first ballot for governor and lieutenant governor. Those candidates will be given 15 minutes of the originally allotted times. I believe the candidates are aware that this is being discussed. We believe it's appropriate given the number of candidates and the timing of this. So the Rules Committee submits this for your consideration.
Excellent. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Discussion?
Aye.
Discussion?
Aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed?
Finally, the last piece of,
Okay,
Aye.
that passes.
Aye.
So the governor's candidate and lieutenant governor's candidates will get 15 minutes and the other 3 candidates get 12 minutes. Go to the second part of the Rules Committee report.
second part of the Rules Committee report, the State Committee back at our winter meeting passed a code of conduct for volunteers and staff. It referred the code to the Rules Committee to look at how it could be implemented for members of the State Committee. We thank Chairman DeSalvo and the Personnel Committee for their efforts on this. The Rules Committees had a lengthy discussion about it and felt we were unprepared to deal with that at the meeting, and have created a subcommittee to look at it over the summer and report back in the fall. The key sticking items are, as currently written, it doesn't fit for the actual members of the state committee. Additionally, it lacked any enforcement provisions. And then finally, if we were to create enforcement provisions, it would contradict with the current rules in the standing rules for the State Committee on Discipline. And so there's going to be a need for a much longer discussion to work our way through all three areas of that. As such, we've created a subcommittee of, I believe, 5 or 7. I have to go back and look at my notes. The subcommittee will meet in the summer to look at this, to look at the provisions of it, to look at the enforceability of it, and come back to the full rules committee for a dialogue in early September. And we will report back to the full state committee at our fall meeting.
Cover your mouth.
Thank you, Bill.
That is the report of the rules committee, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We will now, Steve, is this discussion on the Rules Committee report?
It was actually on the previous one where I had asked for discussion on the previous vote and was not recognized.
Sorry. Okay. Colin?
Just a request, Mr. Chairman, in light of the passage of the amendment regarding masks, whether the party might be willing to purchase a small number of transparent masks to have available at the convention to support accessibility for deaf and hard of hearing people.
Well, yeah, we'll look into that. Yes, thanks for pointing that out.
Mr. Chair, can I still ask my question?
Mr. Chair. Go ahead, Steve. I thought you, go ahead.
You need
The
something
question was,
that you can blow your nose.
Hold on for a second, please. Steve
Yep.
is speaking. No, Steve, I'm not saying no to you. I'm going to mute everybody and then unmute yourself, Steve.
got it.
Go ahead, Steve. Go.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to ask Bill, you mentioned about having these 2 ballots. I wanted to ask whether the Rules Committee had considered doing ranked choice voting instead, especially since it's something that's actually in our platform. If we're going to expect our electeds and others to adhere to the platform, I think we should be doing the same.
I'm gonna let's bring that up under that was discussed under new business. We actually, the way we do our convention, it's a form of ranked choice voting. I'm just going to keep the meeting going.
Okay.
We are now going to go and subcommittee chairs that actually don't have pending issues really fly through your reports. But do we have Carol? We really need to push our DEI. We've done a lot of work on this. So excellent. So I am going to recognize Linda and Diego and whomever else.
Mr. Chair, may I just say something before you move on?
No, actually, Carlos, we'll come back to you, but this is a really important segment we're going to go to. I will come back to you, Carlos. We're doing our.
Thank you.
Gus, I just want to be clear. Do you want me to just forego the AOC report and just introduce Carol right now, or
Yeah, I want
do
you
you
to
want me to
talk
do
about how much work's been put into DEI and then introduce Carol, because we need people to sign up for that.
Okay. So as you're already aware, the AOC committee continues to support the planning and implementation of the customized DEI training for the party. If you have not already signed up for one of the upcoming trainers, we please ask that you do. We will drop in the chat the links to the sign up for you to be able to sign up for one of the dates. There are 4 sign up forms. Each form offers 3 specific dates you can choose from. Please choose the form based on the dates that work best for you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our DEI consultant who's been working arduously on our ongoing DEI trainings, Carol Copeland Thomas of CT Thomas and Associates. She has joined us today to share an update on her work to date and to provide more detail on the upcoming trainings. I cannot emphasize enough the understanding and accepting the differences of all of our members within the state committee is critical to our work in strengthening our ranks and electing more Democrats in the Commonwealth. There is more I can add regarding the importance of participating in this training, but without further ado, I would like to yield the floor to allow Carol to take it from here. Again, if you have not already, I ask that you sign up for one of the upcoming trainings via the link placed in the chat. Thank you. Carol?
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you, Chairman Gus Bickford, to Nigel, Simon, who I have had the pleasure of working with, Veronica before she left and went to Washington, D.C. I want to thank all of you so much for the time, the attention, the commitment that you have with diversity, equity, and inclusion. We kicked off earlier this month our first module. We're calling them training modules. And it is a very comprehensive approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We just had our second session last night, and we have 10 more opportunities for you to sign up. I can't emphasize enough how important it is. We are all Democrats. I am also a Democrat. I can tell you stories about how important it is for us to understand the issues related to diversity, equity, inclusion, as you have just done with this very vigorous discussion about masks and vaccinations. We will talk about a variety of subjects, from race to gender identity, to sexual orientation, to disability, to class, to income availability and accessibility. There are going to be a lot of discussions that will be held within this 3-hour time frame. And during that time frame, we have trained some of the best facilitators that are part of the Massachusetts Democratic Party. They will lead us through a very spirited small group discussion with cases that we have designed specifically for this party. So if you're interested in the latest information, including critical race theory, something that people really didn't think about years ago, but now it is in the forefront of our discussions. If you are interested in what is taking place with legislation and lawsuits that are actually now being filed in Ludlow, Massachusetts, you want to come to this session. I've been doing this work for 35 years, and now more than ever, I have to keep up with all the issues because there are so many issues. I'm going to ask if I could share my screen. I just have a very quick video segment that I want to play. This is a little teaser, little trailer to give you a sense of what we do. We keep it open, we keep it moving. We have a lot of things going on. It's multimedia at its best form, but I'm now going to, let's see if you can, see if I can go on and, great. Thank you very much. I'm going to make this very, very quick, but I want to talk to you about what we're doing in our discussions revolving around disability. Disability is a subject that sometimes gets overlooked with diversity, but we are hitting it head on, thanks to Cheryl Cummings and Colleen Flanagan and others who have been very forthright in their conversations and their comments. So this is a list of tips, all the way from using live transcriptions, which we're using tonight, using ASL interpreters, verbalizing what's on the screen, which I'm doing now because you can never assume that some people are having a great time catching up with what's taking place on the screen. So verbalizing is very important. And then asking first, if someone is blind or they have a sight impairment, you want to ask them before directly leading them across the street or across the hall. And in many cases, a blind person will take a person's elbow and then you will guide them across the street. Also, some things we're discussing, 13% of people have trouble using the stairs. And most importantly, most disabilities are not visible. So these are some of the things that we're talking about in this segment. We make it very pragmatic. We have discussions on it. It's very up to date. And in closing for me, I'm going to play a very short video about disability. Here we go. Let me go on and get my sound together. And here we are.
I feel so blessed to be able to just live my life and have people be motivated by it.
I have a spinal cord injury. And so when I was seeing people roll by, I was like, wow, so that's what I'm gonna look like.
I think
I was different. I knew. I think it's cancer and kids.
I was born paralyzed. I was born with spina bifida. So I've been paralyzed my whole life, and it's the only life I know. So I had to kind of grow into learning I was different.
My biggest insecurity is my legs. So I decided, hey, if that's my biggest insecurity, then I'm gonna start a gene line. And all of the pictures are based around my jeans and my legs and other people's legs. And that's where I realized that it's okay to be different. Because once you embrace it, your entire world changes.
People need to, they allow to react to me a lot of times. So like, I make little jokes like, hey, calm down, it's okay. I'll be okay.
I would have people treat me as if I wasn't really there, and I would have people treat me like they didn't want anything to do with me. And perhaps it's because they were scared and they didn't know any other response.
One of my favorite things is when I'm out in public and I have all my girls with me who are all in chairs, who are all gorgeous. And we literally love when we see heads just turn.
Society doesn't correlate disability and being attractive. We are beautiful people. Everyone's beautiful in their own way, but we can be stylish. We can be gorgeous and stunning and fabulous, as I like to say, because yes, I see myself as being fabulous.
Being a dancer, you know, once a dancer, always a dancer, I didn't stop. So I would go out to the clubs and I would get my boogie on. And I was surprised by how guys would approach me and be like, hey, you're hot. And they wouldn't say, you're still hot. They would say, you're hot.
There is the black and white. There's the bad and there's the good. So as long as you're focusing on the good, then the bad just seems to melt away.
We're only given one life, and you gotta be proud of it.
You want to bust a couple of moves? Oh.
I love that, bust a couple moves. So we want you to sign up. This is just a teaser of what we are doing with our diversity, equity, and inclusion modules. I want a very, very special thank you to all of the facilitators who have signed up, who have been trained, who are going through orientation. We even have a debrief session that we've had with our facilitators. So it is a big party. It's a big tent. We're working together. This is extremely important for a lot of reasons, because we want to obviously take over the governor's seat again and the other seats. We want Massachusetts to be in the lead as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And even if you are an expert, even if you've done this before, I've been in this work 35 years and I'm still learning. We want you there to help lead the discussion. So make way for one of the days that's available. We have 4 coming up in May, 4 in June. We have 2 more next week. They all run from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is important. This is what Democrats do. This is what we do as part of the Massachusetts Democratic Party. We want to be up to date, relevant, contemporary, and have the answers for the naysayers, the misinformed, the conservative party that is just doing a whack job on so many issues. We can be the leaders in this whole discussion of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you so much. I look forward to meeting all of you in the weeks to come.
Thank you, and terrific job. And it's been incredible, and the work you've done is really incredible. Quick update as to how we're gonna, share your. For those that haven't signed up, you're gonna get an email tomorrow. We couldn't do it in the links because there was no way for you to know which group you were in. So you're gonna get an email tomorrow if you hadn't signed up. Please sign up. We really expect everyone to attend. The executive committee talked about it. We're going to have 100% participation from the executive committee. So that's where we're going to go. We're about to go to the labor outreach subcommittee. Bill, is this a question?
Yes. Can you schedule some sessions on weekends, because some people's weeknights are pretty booked?
Okay, we'll get back. We'll discuss that. We will go to Jim Pimentel, so labor outreach. And folks, so I'm not picking on you, Jim. Every committee chair that we're about to go to, I know you were given like 2 or 3 minutes. You now have a minute and a half. You guys have given us reports. Labor outreach has rules, the subcommittee has. We will send those out in the meeting recap. We do send out meeting recaps. So Jim, you're up. Get to the meat of it and go ahead.
Thanks, Gus. I'll make it as quick as I can. So we had Kevin Brousseau from the Mass AFL-CIO join us in the meeting, along with Brian Dunn, Max Sherman, and Nicole Masalem to give us some updates on legislative stuff and the ballot questions. We talked about the gig economy question that could be struck down hopefully in June by the courts. We talked about the wage theft legislation, which made it out of the Joint Committee on Labor and Workforce Development on March 25th. We're going to have a lobby day on April 27th up at the State House on that. A lot of work's been done on the Fair Share Amendment across the state to get endorsements from Democratic town and city committees, city council, school committees, etc. The committee discussed the organizing drive among state Senate staffers by IBW Local 2222, and the motion recently circulated by email by Jeremy Camo, which in a nutshell urges the Democratic State Committee and the state party chair by words and actions to support the campaign. The committee voted unanimously to support the motion as written and to request that the state chair notify the Senate president of this action. We talked about the proposed Taunton City Charter, which had some anti-union language in it, was struck down. The mayor took it out because she recognized there was anti-union opposition. We talked about some of the nurses organizing drives and the victories they've recently had. Lisa Lemieux talked about some of the work being done at Greater New Bedford Voc Tech, which is the only tech school in the state which isn't fully unionized. The Labor Council in Southeastern Mass, which we're a part of, has been helping out with that. So far, we've got 2 of 4 contracts settled. She also mentioned the upcoming legislative forum, which the Labor Council is going to hold on Saturday the 30th. Dennis Norton talked about some of the right-wing candidates running for school committee in Foxborough. Deb Fastino explained what the Common Stock Coalition is, for those that didn't know, and talked about their very successful kickoff rally that was held on April 9th.
We'll send out that stuff. So you've got.
That's pretty much it. I'll just conclude with the fact that that's our report, and I move that it be adopted by the state committee.
So part of that motion is, would you like the state committee to
Second.
Second. But is it that you want us to adopt that we're in favor of the labor organizing of in Jeremy Camo's motion?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Point of order.
Go ahead. Yep.
At least, obviously, thank you, Jim, by the way, for saying that you're in favor and the committee is in favor of the motion. If for the benefit of the state committee, if the link can at least be put in the chat so that folks know exactly what they're voting on, because there are 4 points that they're voting on.
If we're going to do it that way, we'll come back to it under new business. I was just trying to speed things up.
I get it, but some people don't know what they're voting on, so just want to make
sure. We'll come back to it under new business. So what we will now do is, by the way, Jeremy, just so you know, I think you did a good job. I think everybody received the email, so I just feel.
I hope that was quick enough for you, Gus.
Amanda Smith.
Everybody, for campaign services, just real quick, I wanted to let folks know that we are continuing with the organizing hub on Saturdays, 3 to 5 p.m. And we've actually made it more like 3 to 4:30. And we break at 4:30 for sort of sharing and social time, that sort of thing. So we're scheduled through mid-June. I sent Joe the link for that, the sign up link. So that should be in the chat at some point. Welcome anybody coming. And obviously, if you know other people that would be interested in participating with the phone banks that we're doing that rotate every Saturday, all are welcome. We have a really great crowd of people that varies every weekend. That's really fun. We've been helping out with a bunch of swing state actions, also in-state. And obviously a lot of New Hampshire too. And then also, I just wanted to bring to people's attention, the DNC has a call crew, and we've been working with the DNC. That is a call anytime tool, and you can get trained on it, and they're going to have like a hub dialer type dialer that
So
they're
that's what I'd like
debuting.
to do, Amanda. So let's put that in one of our emails. So you will see.
That's going to be in the chat as well. I gave that to Joe. I just wanted people to know about it.
Yep, terrific.
That's it.
Okay. We are going to go to Rural Outreach Subcommittee. By the way, Amanda, thank you so much. The hub is really doing incredible work. Rural Outreach.
Absolutely.
And Rural Outreach did submit something in writing, which we will share with you tomorrow for the follow-up.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Gus. The Rural Affairs Committee, on March 31st, we held our first rural and small town roundtable with the chairman. The purpose was to discuss the increasing number of attacks rural and small town Democratic town committees are facing from Trump-inspired organizations, some of which are national in scope. And secondly, what Mass Dems can do to help. We limited participation in this first one to get to kind of work out the kinks and see how it went. It went very well. And after a discussion of the pressures on rural and small towns at all levels of government, including election boards, school boards, select boards, and other offices, Gus offered the help of the party and the campaign services subcommittee and suggested we conduct a survey to gather more data on this growing threat, especially in our rural areas.
You're mailing this out, so you have another minute. Finished up.
Yep. We're now working to develop that survey, and we would appreciate hearing from other rural and small town committees around the state about their interest in this effort and their willingness to participate in a similar roundtable.
Terrific. Yeah, that was a terrific roundtable. Thanks so much. You did put together a great report. We'll mail that out tomorrow. Women's Outreach Subcommittee.
Yes, we have a brief report for you. Last month, we had a successful conversation for Women's History Month. We work with the AAPI caucus to listen to State Rep and our fellow DSC member, Maria Robinson, and we wished her a speedy, I'm not sure speedy is any longer the right word, confirmation. Yesterday, we hosted Miranda Lee, who is the out-of-state director of Organized New Hampshire, and learned how we can help in New Hampshire with a focus on the women that are running. We also met our new Mass Dem staffer, Ryan, and we're delighted to meet her. And then we heard from Amanda Smith about the organizing hub. We are working on planning a possible gathering at the convention for our subcommittee members. And so stay tuned. We're going to be talking to Gus and others about how we might have a meet and greet with our masks on.
Excellent. Okay, so we will go to public policy.
Public Policy will hold a meeting of the entire Public Policy Committee on the morning of April 30th at 11 a.m. to discuss the upcoming climate crisis forum.
And we now have resolutions.
Yes, I'm just going to quickly review the dates for resolutions for the convention. The rules were set in motion by the Rules Committee and approved at the December meeting. The convention resolution must be submitted by Wednesday, May 4th by 5 p.m. The subcommittee will meet the next day, and the day after that, we will send a preliminary report to the party. We'll enumerate any resolutions that we aren't recommending as a committee for passage by the convention. The signature gathering period will next follow, and that will be only for those resolutions the committee has chosen not to recommend. It'll be an opportunity for the proponents to gather up to 5 delegates' signatures, a minimum of 500 signatures, return that resolution to the consideration pool. And then a final resolution will be sent to the party on Monday, May 23rd, and that will include the full text and support statement resolution the committee supports, as well as the full text and proponents' brief supporting statements for any resolutions that meet the 500 plus signatures. And the final report will be sent to delegates on Tuesday, May 24th, and there will be a voting period from Tuesday, May 24th to Tuesday, May 31st. So the votes will all be submitted before the convention, and the result of the votes will be announced at the convention. Thank you.
As a reminder, we have been sending this out in the Thursday emails to State Committee and the Friday emails to chair. So if you're ever looking for this information, it has been continually put in there under the rules of the convention. We will go to field services and then JFK.
Hi, this is Karen Payne. Field Services had their meeting last week, and we have a ad hoc subcommittee working on the chair's manual. They met this past weekend, and they will be coming forth with some recommendations of the update on the chair's manual. We're working with Joe Sherlock on the staff of the DSC, working on a PowerPoint for training for delegates and alternates for the convention. Look forward to seeing, we'll be sending out notices. We're going to be working with the town, city, and ward chair committees to help get their delegates and alternates acclimated to what to expect at the convention. And then we will continue our support with the Blueprint 2022, calling volunteers so that they are prepared to attend their meetings for their training.
Thank you.
And we also, Field Services is, we're asking Field Services to work with Joe Sherlock volunteering for the convention. So that will be part of our work that we'll do to support the DSC.
And we just put a link in the chat. We desperately need volunteers for the convention. So please forward that and share that for anybody that would like to volunteer at the convention. JFK scholarship. Quickly, if you're still there.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Thanks, Gus. On behalf of Brenda and Charlotte, my amazing co-chairs, I just want to say that we have selected our JFK and Moakley interns. So our JFK scholars are Miriam Nelson and Jack Pernick. Our Moakley interns are Rachel Topfer, Michael Graham Green, Henry Hahn, Jacob Golden, and Ed Harsh, Jayash Seibel. Though they will be our spring interns. In addition, we will be selecting interns in the fall again. So we'll be asking those for your help in spreading the word. But they're a great crew. And I also want to just thank the committee very quick. Coco Alson, Terry, Carol Donovan, Kathy Dwyer, Kristen Halbert, Marilyn Hazel, Amy Coular, Ted Park, Lucy Rivera, and Lisa Stephen Goodnight. We all did an amazing job coming together and devoting a lot of time to picking these great scholars. So thank you,
job.
Jim.
And Adhirsh and Rachel have been helping out in this meeting. So thanks very much. Tyler, is it a quick question?
No, just gonna be for the charter amendment subcommittee.
Oh, go ahead. You got a minute.
We're gonna send an email out to all of our subcommittee members, but we wanted to let you know that we will have a meeting Saturday, May 7th at 11 a.m. And we are also reserving an additional meeting just in case we need to, in case it runs long, for Monday, May 9th at 6 p.m. Again, we'll send an email out to all the committee members. Thank you.
Okay. We still have to hear from our Secretary of State, Attorney General, and auditor candidates. We've got them packaged up like we did before. I'm thinking we do that. So we're going to go. Carol, did you have a quick thing? Credentials Committee.
We had a quick Credentials Committee.
Yes.
Alana and I held a quick Credentials Committee meeting the other night. We had our first sort of challenge, which was from the Chatham Caucus, and it was a matter of over-electing. So we are in the process of drafting a letter for Gus to send to them as to how to correct that, and also a letter, a recommendation to the Rules Chair that the Rules Committee take a thorough look at the new wording in section 14 and either tighten it up to clarify it or remove it altogether. We thought it was a little unclear in its wording. So as of now, we don't have any other challenges to the convention. People have until the week before. But as always, if you know of any that are out there, please ask that people get in challenges sooner than later.
Okay. DNC members report is on the agenda. Can we keep that to a really short report, please?
Senior outreach.
Okay.
Go ahead, DNC.
So we had a really terrific DNC winter meeting in mid-March in Washington, D.C. We were very honored to hear remarks inspiring remarks from President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and a very fiery Senator Markey. We also heard from some wonderful young people that spoke about their campaigns, motivations, and work on behalf of their community. And that included our very own Boston City Councilor, Ruth Z. Lejeune. A highlight of the Resolutions Committee for Chairman Bickford and me was speaking to a commemorative resolution in honor of Democratic State Committee VP Emeritus Ray Jordan. This resolution was submitted by Mass Dems, DNC reps, and largely drafted by VP Deb Kozakowski. Other important resolutions included support of the nomination of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson in solidarity with the Ukrainian people. In addition, the executive committee passed timely and urgent resolutions to support transgender youth and their families. And finally, a conversation around the primary and caucus schedule for the next presidential primary continues. Many Dems support including more diverse states earlier in the schedule to reflect the diversity of the country, but there is also support for maintaining New Hampshire as an early primary state because of its toss-up status. Additional listening sessions will be scheduled before a recommendation comes before the full DNC. I thought this conversation was very poignant and was framed very well by DNC member Mo Alithi, who spoke to the fact that the schedule should reflect the values of the Democratic Party.
Thank you very much. We will now, because what we're going to do, because they're going to have this is a follow-up on the Labor Outreach Subcommittee. We'll go to new business. Going to recognize Jeremy, and then we will go back and hear from the rest of our candidates before we go back to more new business. Jeremy, come on.
Thank you. Full disclosure, I was totally fine with at least dropping the link of this into the chat.
That's fine.
And so it's on the screen, I believe. If not, I did give it to Veronica and others. And this is just a motion that the Mass Democratic State Committee, in accordance with our 2021 Mass Democratic Party platform, stating that everyone has the opportunity to have a good job and living wage, good benefits, and form and join unions. I'll just do the brief version of these 4 points: that we unequivocally stand in solidarity with the Mass State House Employees Union. We recognize the efforts of the Beacon Bloc, which was a driving force at the State House for better working conditions, fair pay, better benefits, and for all staff working for our elected representatives and senators. And that the Democratic State Committee instructs the chairperson to transmit a letter to the within 48 hours to the general court leaders, AFL-CIO, IBEW, and other relevant leaders, to notify within 48 hours general public at large through media, press releases, social media, email, and other outlets of this action with a copy of this motion. I'm grateful that it is sponsored by over 167 state committee members, including Jim Pimentel, Chrissy Lynch, Steve Tolman.
Thank you.
As was mentioned, entire labor.
Yep. So it came out of Labor Committee, and this motion. So all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Okay, the motion is. What? The motion is passed. Before we get on to other new business, in recognition of the hard work that they're doing on behalf of us, I am going to go to the rest of the offices in the appropriate order. So we're going to go to Secretary of State. I go Secretary of State, AG, then Auditor. So Secretary of State. Here we go. Let's mute everybody.
Seldom in our history has the honest, accurate administration of elections been more important. I'm proud of our efforts here in Massachusetts, introducing many reforms that have led to record voter turnouts in our most recent elections. I'm also extremely concerned about the false claims of fraud that have led to violence throughout our country, and indeed has led to suspicions about the accuracy of elections. In order to call out false claims of fraud, you must have the expertise and experience to do so, which I have done. I am also concerned about the ruthless efforts of Republicans to deprive citizens of their rights in other parts of the country. I think we need to continue our efforts here in Massachusetts to expand voter rights, but we also must be prepared to attack those false claims when they occur. My ask of you is this: not to reward me for my past success, but in fact, allow me to continue to lead the effort going forward.
Hello, State Committee members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to address you tonight and to share a bit about myself and our campaign. My name is Tanisha Sullivan. I'm running for Secretary of State here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Service is in my DNA. My dad spent 40 years as an educator in the Boston Public Schools, and my mother started 3 small businesses from my childhood home in Brockton, each of them in service to working families and communities of color. With service at my core, I've spent 20 years as an attorney, served Boston Public Schools as its chief equity officer, and fought for justice with our communities as a civil rights advocate, most recently on the front lines as the volunteer president of the NAACP here in Boston. We are at a defining moment in the fight for the full promise of our democracy, and this moment demands courageous, brave, inclusive, and visionary leadership in order to deliver on that promise for all of our communities. And it's essential that our next Secretary of State be proactive in forging new pathways to civic participation and, in so doing, strengthening our democracy. And we do that by protecting and expanding voting rights, making government more transparent and accountable, and showing how the Secretary can be a force for greater economic opportunity for all of us. I am truly excited about our campaign and grateful for the support we've received from elected officials, labor unions, grassroots organizations, and from the thousands of donors, volunteers, and voters representing communities across the Commonwealth who share our vision of a stronger, more vibrant, and more expansive democracy here in Massachusetts. The excitement, the hope, the belief that is building, it is all good. It's good for our communities, it's good for our Commonwealth, and it is good for our democracy. If you'd like to learn more about our campaign, please visit our website at tanishasullivan.com. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit with you tonight, and I look forward to working alongside you going forward.
Excellent. We will now go to our Attorney General candidates.
Hello, State Committee members. My name is Andrea Campbell, and I'm a candidate for Attorney General. I see this campaign as a continuation of my work, especially on behalf of those that feel left out and left behind by government. And my candidacy is unique. I have the most comprehensive legal background of any candidate. I started my legal career representing children in education cases for free, especially students and families that fell below the poverty line and students with disabilities, ensuring they had access to an excellent education. I've worked as an attorney for Governor Deval Patrick, managing a whole host of state agencies in my portfolio. I'm also the only candidate with a legislative record, and I've passed historic legislation on a whole host of issues, which is going to be really important for the next Attorney General. And what have I done in this space? My first piece of legislation was a Community Preservation Act, which is generating millions of dollars for the creation of what? More affordable housing in the city of Boston, which is a pressing issue for our state. In addition to that, I passed historic legislation creating the Office of Police Accountability and Transparency, which is significant because this office will push for greater transparency and accountability and diversity in all of our public safety agencies. Lastly, my candidacy is unique because of my lived experience, and I do think representation matters. And I know that voters also think the same. And this work is personal for me. And I will continue to work hard on behalf of all of you and, of course, every resident in this state. We're building a grassroots campaign where I am crisscrossing this state, and I'm excited about the coalitions we're building, bringing together communities of color with low-income communities in poor, and I'll name it, white rural communities as well. No other community and state, I think, is doing this well. This is an opportunity for us to do it because many of the issues we are grappling with are the same, and the AG's office is uniquely positioned to address them. I'm proud to have the endorsement of Senator Markey and over 90 elected officials representing every single county in Massachusetts. I hope to earn your support at the convention. I would be honored and humbled to have it. Thank you for everything you do for our party and our state.
My name is Shannon Liss Reardon. For more than 20 years, I have used the law as a tool to improve people's lives and put money back into working people's pockets. I got my start in public service organizing for women's rights. I was inspired to go to law school by my work with legendary labor advocate and feminist trailblazer Bella Abzug. When I started as a labor and civil rights lawyer, I was often the only woman in the courtroom, going up against powerful corporations and their better funded attorneys. But that didn't stop me. My passion and dedication won time and time again. We beat the odds and delivered for working people against corporations like Starbucks, FedEx, Uber, Amazon, IBM, and my alma mater, Harvard University, which I've sued at least 4 times. I've represented everyone from waitresses to janitors to Uber drivers, strippers, and helped them recover hundreds of millions of dollars that corporate America stole from them. This work has changed industries throughout Massachusetts and across the country. I'm proud to have fought for the people against the powerful and won, and I will do the same for you as your next Attorney General. I know what it takes to use the legal system to make progress on the toughest issues, from combating climate change to standing up for gender equality to protecting the dignity of work. I'm the only candidate in this race who has represented working people. I'm the only practicing lawyer. I'm the only candidate who has run a law firm. I've won the jury trials and the appeals that have fundamentally made life better for everyday people across Massachusetts and across the country. I've been doing the work of a private attorney general for years. Now I'm ready to take my service to the next level with the power of the state behind me. I've been called the workers' champion. Now I'm ready to be Massachusetts champion. I'm Shannon Liss Reardon. I'm running to be your next Attorney General, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. It's Quentin Palfrey. I'm a proud Democrat running for Attorney General. As a former Assistant Attorney General, I've seen firsthand how much impact the AG can have on people's lives. I was the first chief of the healthcare division at the time that we were implementing Massachusetts health reform. We worked really hard to make sure that everyone has access to high-quality, affordable health care. I sued some predatory health insurance companies that were taking advantage of Massachusetts residents in that critical time. I also had the great honor to serve in the White House under President Barack Obama. I was honored to be your 2018 Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor. And on day one of the Biden-Harris administration, I joined as the Acting General Counsel of Commerce, led a team of several hundred lawyers, and helped to launch the Build Back Better agenda. Friends, we've got really important work to do on racial injustice, on the climate crisis, on fighting attacks on our democracy, on workers' rights, reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights, student loan debt, and gun violence. As the people's lawyer, the AG can stand up and fight back against predatory lenders and scammers, against pharmaceutical companies like Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family, whose lies brought us the opioid crisis. The AG can bring new urgency to the fight against racial injustice and against the climate crisis. We need to stand up for workers' rights and reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights. And we need to stand up against special interests in our politics, because that's what the people's lawyer does. I'm really excited about this race, and there are very big policy differences between myself and my competitors. I believe in single-payer health care. I want to fight against the expansion of charter schools. I believe in safe injection sites and fare-free transit. meaningful police accountability. And I do think that with rising rents, rent control should be one of the tools available to make sure that housing is affordable for everyone. And I really think it's important that we take special interest money out of our politics, because the people's lawyer should be independent, should stand up for access to health care and for fair schools and for real justice under the law. I'm Quentin Palfrey, and I'd be honored to earn your support for AG. Thank you so much for having me here tonight.
And now we'll go to the auditor's race. And I want to thank the candidates for doing these videos for us.
Hello, Mass Dems. It's Chris Dempsey, candidate for State Auditor. Thank you for all that you're doing to keep our party strong and to prepare us for the convention in June. I'm proud to say that I was a staffer for the Mass Dems on the 2006 coordinated campaign when we elected Governor Deval Patrick and Lieutenant Governor Tim Murray in that historic election. I then served in the administration as Assistant Secretary of Transportation. I'm the only candidate in this race with experience working in the executive branch of state government. But I've also worked outside of state government to stand up to protect the public interest. As the co-founder of the grassroots No Boston Olympics, we took on the powerful special interests that were pushing an Olympic bid that would have required all of us as state taxpayers to cover 100% of billions of dollars of Olympic cost overruns. I know that Massachusetts is a great state with a proud history, but we've fallen behind on everything from transportation to broadband access to racial equality. If we're going to fix the problems that face us in the future, we need to have better information about what's happening in government, and we need to have leaders inside of state government that are not afraid to stand up to protect the public interest. That's what I've done in my career. As state auditor, I'll make the office a national leader on climate by making it the first in the country to incorporate carbon accounting into our audits of state agencies. I live on the first floor of a triple-decker with my amazing fiance, Anna, and Anna and I are looking forward to starting a family together about 2.5 blocks from where I grew up and where my public school teacher parents still live. We want that to be in a Massachusetts that is the best that it can be, and that means making state government the best that it can be by making it more transparent, more accountable, more efficient, and more fair. That's why I'm running for state auditor, and that's why I'm asking for your support today and at the convention in June. Again, thanks for all that you're doing. I'm Chris Dempsey, candidate for state auditor, and I ask for your support.
Hi, everyone. First and foremost, thank you for being active in our Democratic Party, the conversations about our future and the direction we take this Commonwealth. My name's Diana DiZoglio, and for those of you who don't know me, I was raised by a young single mother in a working class household. I'm currently a state senator from Methuen, and I'm running to be your next state auditor. I firmly believe that sunlight is the best disinfectant, and our state government needs some cleaning. The auditor is the chief accountability and transparency officer for the Commonwealth. And right now, almost every single good government organization has consistently ranked Massachusetts as the least transparent of any government in the United States. As auditor, I'll do my best to change that. I'm not running to simply be your auditor, but to be your advocate for a better, smarter government that does more to lift people up. We need a government that's responsible, accountable, and fair, one that not only spends your tax dollars well, but spends it on the right things. As auditor, I will not just passively audit what's already been done by others and then comment on it. I'll actively work to improve our government to help prevent problems before they happen. As a small businesswoman, a staff member of nonprofits, and an elected official, I have an extensive record of fighting for working families across our communities. I'm the only candidate in this race with a long and consistent history of demanding transparency and accountability up on Beacon Hill. Please join this campaign, commit to volunteering, and become a DiZoglio delegate at the convention in June. I can't do it without your support. I respectfully ask for your vote. Please visit dianaforma.com to get involved today. Thank you so much.
Terrific. Hopefully that gets everybody. I'm super pumped. We're going to have an incredible convention. I've got 2 pieces of new business First of all, I do want to thank our personal meeting attendants for tonight. Rachel Topler, Laura Bilodeau, Graham Morphus, Ad Harris, Jared, Ad Harris, I'm going to get that right sometime. Karen Payne, Parwez Wahid, Jen Meath, Joe Sherlock, and Ryan Kangas. Thank you so much for the hard work you did behind the scenes. As we traditionally do in an election year, our summer meeting is going to, in a year where we elect the governor, our summer meeting is going to be on September 10th, which is the Saturday following the primary. It's going to be in Springfield area. It could be Chicopee, Holyoke. Our vice chair out there is working on the location. So we can, and it will be a hybrid meeting, a first in-person hybrid meeting. So we can go out and do some campaigning after the meeting and likely have a chair's meeting or something else. So very excited for that. We also have with Kathy Gass, we're moving on to treasurer. We've had a vacancy in the deputy treasurer slot. So we will be electing someone to fill that slot. I plan on nominating Veronica Martinez as a candidate to that slot. We will send out the dates for when people can send their letters of intent, but we will be electing to fill that vacancy at the September 10th meeting. Okay, we are now back to new business, and that's the end of the new business that I had to offer. Steve Lewis. Did you have your hand up for this, Steve? You're muted if I can't see you.
There we go. Unmuted. I wanted to go back to the point I brought earlier that you invited me to bring up in new business about the voting method at the convention and the idea that what we're doing is like ranked choice voting when it really is not anything like ranked choice voting at all. And you said it was discussed. And I wanted to hear why we're not doing something that is in our platform.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is have you take this to the Rules Committee. We'll move this on to the Rules Committee because that would be a discussion for the next convention. Bob Massey. You're muted. You're still muted. You want me to unmute you, Bob? Okay, I will. I can't unmute. It says ask to unmute. So.
Sorry, I tried to unmute myself and it said I wasn't allowed to. I just, first of all, it's so moving for me to see so many friends and people that I've worked with. I have a personal comment I'd like to make, and then I have a quick suggestion. Personal comment is that if I come to the convention, you're going to see me in a wheelchair, which is why I was so moved to have Carol Dean Thomas highlight the particular issue of disabilities. Many of you know I've had trouble with my knee for many, many years, for my whole life, and it's really finally given out. So I'm hoping to have a really nice, fancy new green wheelchair, but I'm trying to save myself answering 200 questions about what happened. So that's what happened. My suggestion is that I've seen in the last few months the same debate happen as has happened many, many times, which is what kind of debates should there be for candidates? When should they happen? And so forth. I'd like the Democratic Party to consider this question and come up with some thoughts about it in preparation for future elections, because two quick reasons. One, our delegates need to hear our constitutional officer candidates. And very often they only have that opportunity if they happen to have their own town committees or other mechanisms. So I think that we need to have forum and debate sponsored by the party prior to the convention. It's also important, the second reason to do it is because it raises the profile of the party and the candidates for the wider community and for the many voters who don't have any idea that there is election or who's running. So I would like to forward that suggestion to all of you. If some of you happen to agree with that, looking forward, please be in touch with me. You can find my email, rkmassey@gmail.com, and we can talk about it. I want to thank you. Thank you for all the work that you've done. And thank you for hanging in there all the way to give me a shot to say a few words at the very end.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Seeing nothing, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. So
Do I hear
moved.
a second?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Great job, everybody.
Aye. Thank you.
Can't wait to
Thank you
see
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Everybody.
Let's put up a thank you screen to our staff and everybody else. Incredible job. Incredible job. Someone have that up? Yeah, there we go. There we go. Look at that. What a
Good
staff.
evening. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Terrific. Really appreciate it. Look at some new faces, folks. Stephanie is our new comms director. Ryan is our new voter file technology manager.
Nigel's got a
Rachel and
baby.
Adhars are incredible.
They make me feel old. They look so young.
They're incredible. And obviously, look at Joe and Nigel, who have carrying everything over. And then, of course, we have the wonderful VIP guest return of Veronica. But honestly,
She came back?
No, she's just helping out tonight. But Nigel and Joe and Ryan and Stephanie and Adhars and Rachel, thanks for everything. And our meeting at